every time you go through a
That's
damn
illegal.
stoplight. No, it's not.
In some states, in most of them, yes, it actually is.
In a lot of
Just
states, it's
saying,
not.
just saying. I don't mind the idea. Believe me. It's just you get caught with it in California for sure. It's illegal.
Yeah, it is illegal,
Yes.
like, basically everywhere. You can't tamper with your license plate.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
But,
just
I mean,
saying.
that's if you get
Yeah.
caught, but, like, I wouldn't yeah, I don't, condone
Like we're
that.
not gonna advocate for that on JQ Radio, by the way. Just saying.
well, I'm not advocating. Well, check your states and see if it's legal.
Right.
If not,
Which is
I'm
I mean, I
not.
get the idea, bro. Trust me. Let me tell you. I say,
Yeah,
uh, I get
but
it.
yeah, but that's all I gotta say. And then yeah, that's about it. You guys have a beautiful day, and God bless you all.
Ryan, thank you, brother. It's good to see you. Hey, all right, Uncensored Godfather, you guys have your fun here with your Talmud talk. Good to see you, Godfather. How you doing? You got Rumble ready and everything? You good to go?
Yep. I'm just changing the title on the YouTube.
Copy, 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 copy. Let me put your name up in the nest and then have fun, brother. Also, real fast, everybody in the audience, we share the space. We start Talmud talk with the Godfather, and want everybody to be aware of that. So we're shifting gears. No more geo or crypto, any of that. Thank you. Share the space. Follow Goy and JQ.
Right, perfect. Yeah, good to go. Right, if Ian comes in later, we'll head to the normal type of JQ Radio Talmud Talk, where Ian, will ask questions, we'll go through them in detail. But for now, I'm gonna go through the Substack that I made. Was supposed to do it last week, I believe, but didn't get around to doing it. So if anyone wants to see, let me zoom in. I'm gonna put the Rumble in the Jumbotron, so if anyone wants to actually watch it or see what I'm looking at, then you can see. Alright. Let me copy these two links real quick. Alright. Rumble 1. Rumble 1 is in the bubble. And then if anyone wants to YouTube, I have the same name on YouTube, but I believe most people use Rumble, so yeah. You can click it. We're going to go through the whole thing. And if you want the link for it, you can click the link in my bio, and there's a link to the Substack. But anyway, title is, What Does the Talmud Actually Say? Addressing Adam King's quote-unquote refutations on quotes from the Talmud. The old pin post I had was a thread pretty much doing the exact same thing, debunking Adam King on his lies about the Talmud, with a video he did with, I don't know who it was, but it was some Gentile who was absolutely clueless. So if you haven't seen that video, the link is in the Substack, so you can just click it and go to the video itself. But it's the same set of quotes that Dan Bilzerian used. It's the same set of quotes that you'll find flooding around. The ones where it has a yellow outline inside the box has got all the different quotes, etc. Or the same quotes are on like a grey background. Type 1. Let me make sure my Twitter space has audio. Yeah, perfect. Alright.
That's it. I'm gonna get you up as co-host.
Beautiful. Later, bro.
Alright, so let's get to the first quote anyway. First quote is Sophorim 15, which is, even the best of Gentiles should all be killed. That's how it is put on the sheet that Adam was going through. Now, Adam addresses this from the 6th second to the 16th second, and all he says is that it's a fake quote the book doesn't exist, and the quote itself doesn't exist. Now, this is extremely disingenuous since, for one, the book does exist, and two, the quote does exist in two different places, right? So, on the article, have it pinned directly to Safari.org, Jewish website, not a Gentiles website, straight from the Jews, and it takes you straight to what? Tractate Sopharim 15. So there's the first lie the Jews already made, that the book doesn't exist. Clearly does. No one's going to deny that this book exists. Maybe Adam, when he was buying his collection of Talmuds, forgot to buy this tractate. I'm not sure, but it definitely exists. It is a later one from like the 8th century, so maybe that's why he didn't think it exists. But he's stupid. But anyway, let's go to the actual quote within Sopharim 15a. Here it is. Rab Simeon bar Yochai taught, kill the best of heathens in times of war. Now, it's not exactly like the quote takes it as, even the best of Gentiles should be killed, but this is where we address it. So we see that the premise of the quote definitely exists, right? But the phrase best of Gentiles doesn't appear, and instead it says the best of heathens. Now, a Jew will be able to pull the wool over your eyes here and say, oh, well, heathens only referred to people who were sacrificing to idols and worshipping stars, etc. But we break that down. So the Hebrew term in this passage for heathens is Ovdei Kochavim, which translates to worshipper of stars. Now, in the modern day, there is not a single prominent group of people who actively worship stars, apart from maybe like astrology girls and all these other weird group of people, right? But there's not a prominent group of these guys. So, in today's time, who could this apply to, right? Who could it apply to? And how did the person who made the Talmud sheet arrive to the conclusion that it meant Gentiles rather than star worshippers? All right. Here's some more background on the word itself. The short abbreviation of Ovdei Kochavim, worshipper of stars and idols, is Akum, A-K-U-M. And according to Harav David Bar Chaim, who spent years researching original Talmudic manuscripts, he's a Jewish scholar, right? The original text of the Gemara in most places uses either the word Goyim, which we all know what Goyim means, that's a non-Jew, or Nokrim, which is a stranger but only refers to a non-Jew. Now the team Akum was added by a group of people called the censors, right? So pretty much during the Middle Ages and this time, the Christians, we had our foots on the neck of the Jews. Proud to say, we had our foots on the neck of the Jews. So we were burning a lot of their books because of the vile stuff it said, which probably wasn't the best idea because now there's a misconstrued of what the quotes actually mean because they've removed the words. But yeah, the group of censors went around and changed these words to placate the Christians, right? And to make it seem more appeasable, etc. Because, as a Christian, we don't see ourselves as worshippers of stars or constellations or idols, etc. And then sources to back this up. Herman Del Strack, in his article, Talmud, in Herzog's Encyclopedia, chapter 28, 320, note 3, and article Nathaniel, 900, page 128, the word Akum is not found in the oldest editions or manuscripts of the Mishnah, the Talmud, the Yad HaHazakah, or the Shulchan Aruch. Instead, it was inserted by censors in place of the original terms Goy, Nokri, and Obed Avodah Zarah, which actually means idol worshipper, right? Which is the word they would use if they were actually being genuine to it meaning and referring to an idol worshipper, but they don't. Another source, in addition to replacing words like Goy and Nokri with Ovdei Kochavim and Akum, worshipper of stars and idols, Wilhelm Bacher die Agada de Tanaitan, volume 2, page 86, note 3, states that the phrase in the time of war was actually a later addition intended to soften the harshness of the original statement. And this completely undermines any argument the Jew will make when they will try to say, oh, it only applies in wartime. Because as we see the quote, kill the best of heathens in times of war. Now, if it says heathens, but it actually meant goyim in the original manuscript, now we can change the heathens to kill the best of Gentiles. But guess what? It still says in the times of war. So a Jew can still kind of, not really, but attempt to justify it by saying it means in the times of war, right? But according to these sources, German source, Wilhelm Bascher, it was an addition that was added later, and it's not in the earliest manuscripts. Now, what would be the earliest manuscripts? Or let's forget the earliest manuscripts of the Babylonian, but what would be the earliest rendition of this statement itself, right? So we have the Babylonian, and we have the Jerusalem Talmud, right? 2 Talmuds. The Jerusalem, lesser used, but it is older. It's an older version of the Talmud, right? And the Babylonian it's a newer version, but it's more complete. And this is what the Jerusalem Talmud in Kiddushin 4:11, line 7 says. Rebbe Simon ben Yochai stated, kill the best of Gentiles, comma, not in the times of war, smash the head of the best of snakes. The best qualified among women is a sorceress. Blessed is he who does the will of the omnipresent. All right. So, the quote is found in the lesser known but older Jerusalem Talmud, which was compiled around 100 to 200 years before the Babylonian Talmud. And in this version, the word used in the Hebrew is goyim, and the phrase in the times of war is absent. It's not even there, right? And it's most likely because it represents an older variant of the text, as shown in the previous sources. I mean, Shimon Bar Yochai was born in... He's like a 2nd century, 3rd century Jew, right? So before any of the Talmud was written down. So we go to the oldest variants to find out what the true reading is. And then, as shown in the previous sources, the omission of goyim and addition of in the time of war were later efforts to censor and soften the harshness of the passage. Now, with this, along with the previously cited sources, it becomes clear the original word used in the quotation was likely goyim and not akum or ovdei kokavim. And then, before we move on to quote number 2, because this quote absolutely torn apart from this Jew's claims. Now, I could have skipped it because he said the book didn't exist. I could have just proved that the book did exist, and that would be a valid refutation. But we're going to go further than that. We're going to look at who the guy is. Or we already did go further than that. But let's look at who the guy is who said the quote. So the rabbi that came up with these demonic ideas is Shimon Bar Yochai, also known as Rashbe, prominent 2nd century Tanna or sage in Roman Judea and early Syria Palestina. He was also a student of Rabbi Akiva, if you know who that is. He's one of the most prominent Jewish rabbis. He was actually an Edomite, not an Israelite, but the Jews still hold him very high. So he's apparently the author of the Zohar, right? According to people who follow the Zohar. Now, everybody else will say it was written in the 13th century by Moses de Leon, a Spanish rabbi and Kabbalist. But the Kabbalists themselves will say, no, it was actually written by Rashbe or Shimon Bar Yochai in a cave, right? They said he was hiding in a cave from the Gentile Romans in Pecain, which I can't remember where exactly the cave is. But yeah. So that's who they ascribe it to. They ascribe the Zohar to this guy. The same book that says the souls of Gentiles is inferior and has a lot of demonic stuff within it. Now, I don't believe it's... Alright, so I'll need to add it to the Substack. But we do have a Talmud passage where it says that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai actually made a deal with demons, right? So I'm going to add that to the Substack after this. It says he made a deal with demons, right? And says, we weren't even worthy of an angel to bring us a miracle. But if this miracle can save the Jewish people, we will still take it from a demon. So this is the same guy. I'll make sure to add it in the Substack. Don't know how I forgot. But anyway. Rashbi's influence remains profound in the Jewish world even today. His tomb is in Meron, near Safed, in the Galilee region of occupied Palestine, and one of the most significant Jewish pilgrimage sites in the world. It attracts 2 million visitors annually, which makes it the second most visited Jewish pilgrimage site apart from the Wailing Wall. So we all know everyone goes to the Wailing Wall, right? But what is the second most visited pilgrimage site? Well, it's this guy's tomb, the same guy who said kill the best of the Gentiles. Insane. And then I added, a little white pill event that happened in 1911. There was a group of Jews all on a balcony at Mount Meron, like, I guess, celebrating his birthday, and they all fell, and 45 of them were crushed. A whole bunch of them died, right? So, a little white pill event that happened 110 years ago. Not condoning violence, the balcony fell on them and they died. It's their own stupidity. But, anyway, at the bottom of every quote, I actually reassemble the quote for its true reading, guys. For its true reading. So instead of just leaving it and saying, yeah, what the quote on the Talmud sheet says is correct. No. We're going to reassemble it and give the true quote. And this is what it says. The quote should read, "The best of Gentiles should all be killed, even if we are not in a time of war." So it's even more gruesome than the Talmud flyer made it out to be. Now, these Talmud flyers are pretty incorrect in some ways, but the quotes always stand. I can always prove every single quote from these sheets. It doesn't matter how badly they're paraphrased, I can prove every single one of them, and we're going to see. Second quote is Yevamot 98a, and the flyer, or meme, which is what Adam called it, renders it as, all children of Goyim are animals. Now, a lot of people use this one, because it's a very damning one. Adam claims that he looked for the quote in Yevamot 98a for 5 minutes, guys. 5 minutes and couldn't find it. Then guess what? He didn't even address the quote. He simply brushed it off saying, oh, well, I can't find it. It doesn't exist. And just moved on. But listen, I managed to find it. How couldn't he? It took me 30 seconds to find it, but he searched for 5 minutes and couldn't find it. And he's a Jew. Not very good, right? But anyway, the quote itself actually reads in Yevamot 98a. The footnote is the most important part technically. It says, learn from this that the merciful one dispossesses the male Gentile of his offspring, as it is stated with regard to Egyptians, whose flesh is the flesh of donkeys and whose semen is the semen of horses. The footnote is, the offspring of a male Gentile is considered no more related to him than the offspring of donkeys and horses. Now, don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sure a donkey and a horse are animals. Now, if our offspring is likened unto donkeys, likened unto horses, alright, if we are no more related to a human than we are to a donkey or a horse, I mean, yeah, our children would then be considered animals according to the Jews. But anyway, the direct translation is, for these are two twin brothers, whose seed is one and divided into two, and the latter part of the text teaches they do not perform chalitza and do not perform yibum, which is like Levirate marriage laws. And you can infer from this that the Torah has rejected their lineage. Right, this is what it actually says. And this isn't the Sonsino. I've got the Sonsino rendered as well, so we'll go to that. Right? It says the Torah has rejected their lineage, as it is written, the flesh of donkeys is their flesh, and the semen of horses is their semen, their offspring, right? So even the way Safaria itself renders it in the English, instead of taking a plain reading from the Hebrew or the Aramaic, is still disingenuous, right? Because it says, whose flesh is the flesh of donkeys? No, it says the flesh of donkeys is their flesh. So it's a big difference. But this is how the Sonsino renders it. Thus it may be inferred that the All-Merciful declared their children to be legally fatherless. On about the Gentiles. For so indeed it is also written, whose flesh is as the flesh of asses, and whose issue is the issue of horses, semen. So, we see from both these translations, Safaria and Sonsino, that they both state that the Gentiles' flesh is the flesh of donkeys, and the Gentile semen is the semen of horses. In Safaria's William Davidson Talmud, a footnote was added stating the offspring of a male Gentile is considered no more related to him than the offspring of donkeys and horses. All this footnote tells us, right, it just reflects the plain reading and interpretation that a Jew would derive from a passage like this. So no one can brush it off saying, oh, it's just a footnote, we don't need to take it. For one, the quote exists in other passages plainly. The footnote is just being taken from a different tractate and added, because it shows us what the plain reading is. Now, Adam blatantly ignored the passage, claiming he searched for 5 minutes and couldn't find it, in an attempt to deceive the viewers into thinking that the quotes about the Talmud are false and merely fabricated by a kid in his basement. However, we can see clearly that these quotes do exist. Now in quote number 3, the next quote, I'm going to connect it with this passage to further prove that the Gentiles aren't considered humans in the eyes of the Jews, because the next quote is pretty much the same. So the quote should read, "The children of Gentiles are more closely related to donkeys and horses than to humans." The original in the meme was all children of Goyim are animals. To me, a horse is an animal, a donkey is an animal, so yes, the quote still stands. Now, on to quote 3. Bava Metzia 114b. Gentiles are not humans, they are beasts. Now, this is an important one. A lot of people like to quote this one. It is pretty good. Adam claims that it doesn't say what the flyer implies, but instead states anyone who worships idols and stars, so of their kokavim, are considered beasts, and anyone who doesn't worship them is considered a human. Now let's find out if even on Safaria the Hebrew word is of their kokavim, or if they forgot to omit this one. Let's find out. The plain English reading, how they translate it, is the Jewish people are called man, but Gentiles are not called man. Alright? The word for man is Adam. It means mankind, it means human, it can mean earth. In this case, it means mankind. Human. Right? That's what it means. But anyway. That's why the clause beast was added in the meme. Now, in the Safaria and the Sonsino, guys, the word beast isn't there whatsoever. But Adam cooks himself. Absolutely demolishes himself. Everyone on the Substack, you can find it and you can click the video and you can listen to what he says about it. Right? You listen to what he says about it. It was from the 30th second to the 56th second. Both readings just say, you the Jews are called men, but non-Jews are not called man. And then the Sonsino renders it, only ye, the Jews, are designated men. Alright, now listen. When Adam quoted it, he literally used the word beast. He cooked himself. If the word beast wasn't in the rendition of the Sonsino or the Safaria, and you knew it wasn't there, and you're trying to deceive everyone, why would you use the word beast? Because you're proving that in your literal physical version of the Talmud, the word beast is used. Which means then I can use the word beast against him. Right? He said the word beast. I can't find the translation that uses the word beast. But for some reason, the Jew, with his physical copy of the Talmud, literally quoted the word beast being in his version. So he absolutely cooked himself. But anyway, ask yourself the question, how did Adam read the word beast verbatim from his physical Talmud if neither the Sonsino nor Safaria digital translations use the word beast? It raises two possibilities. Either the person who made the flyer is a Jew attempting to make Gentiles look foolish, or maybe they have conducted more in-depth research than the rest of us and they found the original footnotes that added the word beast in there that the Jews still have today. Additionally, it raises the question of whether Jews have access to Talmud translations that are not made publicly available, and these versions include footnotes with even stronger anti-Gentile resentment. Because if the ones online, publicly available, don't say beast, but the one the Jews are reading says beasts, we have an issue here. But anyway, let's take Adam's partial translation and correct it using the two translations I used. Adam's version was, anyone who worships idols and stars is considered a beast, and anyone who doesn't worship them is considered human. Now, since the phrase, of de kokavim, or akum, worshipper of stars and idols, is not used in the text, but rather it is nokrim, or nochrim, however you pronounce it in the Jewish French language, it means stranger or foreigner and refers exclusively to Gentiles, right? not a Jew. Only Gentiles, Nokrim and Goyim. They're the two words that you come across in reference to a Gentile. So, knowing that the real word is Nokrim and not of their Kokavim, worshipper of stars and idols, guess what we can do? We can replace worshipper of idols and stars with Gentiles, and we can get rid of who doesn't worship them with only Jews. Since it's speaking about anyone who worships idols, we get rid of that, add Gentiles are considered beasts, and then we can't add anyone who doesn't worship them because it's nothing to do with worshipping stars and idols. So the only thing it could be is the opposite of a Gentile. The opposite of a Gentile is a Jew. So now the quote reads, Gentiles are considered beasts and only Jews are considered human/man. Now that is how we would render it, since Adam, the word for man, can refer to human, mankind, or man, or a plethora of other words, but they're the only ones in context that it could possibly mean. Alright. Now, we're on to the fourth quote, which is a very misquoted passage, since this is the first time Adam is going to get a single thing correct within this whole video that he did, 5-minute video. Gadshas 2:2 states, a Jew may violate but not marry a non-Jew girl. Now, I'll state, this is the first time Adam has been correct in this video. Quote number 3 from Gadshas doesn't exist. Or, well, the quote might exist, but Gadshas isn't a real book. But let's find out if the sentiment and ideology behind the quote can still be found within other tractates of the Talmud. We can group them all together. Alright, before we do that, I'm going to take a drink of water real quick. Make sure I'm good to go. Alright. Alright, here we go. So the quote reads, a Jew may violate but not marry a non-Jewish girl. Now in Judaism, I'm pretty sure everybody knows, and no Jew will actually reject or deny, that Jews cannot marry Gentiles, even according to the Bible, right? An Israelite couldn't marry a non-Israelite. Now in the Bible, it only referred to the Canaanites. In Deuteronomy 7:3-4. It only referred to the 7 nations of Canaan. In the Talmud, in Kiddushin 68b, the restriction is extended to all Gentiles, which they do a lot, by the way, guys. Anytime it'll say kill the Canaanites, you can take that as kill the Gentiles, because it references every single nation after them. But anyway, I also link proof from the Mishnah Torah and the Shulchan Aruch as well, the later works, 12th century, 14th, 15th century, whenever the works are. Now in the Mishnah Torah, forbidden intercourse 12:1, it shows us that the prohibition does not apply only to the 7 nations of Canaan, but to all Gentiles. So this is how it reads plainly on Safaria. When a Jew engages in relations with a woman from other nations, taking her as his spouse, or a Jewess engages in relations with a non-Jew as his spouse, they are punished by lashes. Then we go down a little bit, and this is the proof. It says, this prohibition applies equally to individuals from the 7 nations of Canaanite, or Canaan, and all other Gentiles. All other Gentiles. And the direct Hebrew translation is, a Jew who has relations with a Gentile from among the other nations in a manner of marriage, or a Jewish woman who has relations with a Gentile in the manner of marriage is liable to receive lashes. And then the Shulchan Aruch Even Ha'ezah, it says the exact same thing. Right. It says, a Jewish engaged in relations with a male idolater, akum, the actual word should be Gentile, or Goyim, or Nokri, which we proved earlier with different sources, applies to every single one of them. But the actual translation of Shulchan Aruch anyway, because Safari does a bad job yet again, says, a Jew who has relations with a Gentile woman, a kutit, in the manner of marriage, or a Jewish woman who has relations with a Gentile, kuti, singular, in the manner of marriage, is liable to receive lashes according to the Torah, as it is stated, you shall not intermarry with them. Now let's address the word kute and kute, right? Because these don't say the word Gentile or Goyim in Hebrew or Nokre, but we'll find out what the word means. Now in Joseph Caro's work, the word Goyim is not used. Instead we see kute, which originally referred to Samaritans, but was later applied to all Gentiles as a censorship substitution for akum and nochri. This is backed by Jewish historians themselves, according to Jacob Katz in his work Exclusiveness and Tolerance, and Gedalia Alon, The Jews in Their Land in the Talmudic Age. Christian authorities censored Jewish texts due to their profane and hostile content, leading to the substitution of words like goy and akum with less provocative terms like kute. Now that we've established that a Jew cannot marry a Gentile, let's move on to the second part, whether or not they're allowed to violate a Gentile. They can't marry us, but remember the second part of the quote is that they can violate us, so let's find out if that's true. The two next quotes we go through are Mishneh Torah, Kings and Wars 8, line 2 and line 3. Now, line 2 is rendered, a soldier may engage in sexual relations with a woman while she is still a Gentile if his natural inclination overcomes him. Line 3 states, relations with a Yefat Tawar, which is like a captive woman, are only permitted while she is in captivity. The license is permitted whether the woman is a virgin or not, even if she is married, for the Gentiles' marriages are not recognized. So the marriage of a Gentile isn't considered a marriage. Bear with me. Where'd it go? Here we go, perfect. So according to Maimonides, the Rambam, the Jews have a hotel named after him, by the way, guys. A Jew can take a captive woman, say after killing his entire family. A Jew can then take a captive woman and have sex with her if his inclination overcomes him. And it doesn't matter if she's a virgin or married, since the marriages of Gentiles aren't recognized. From this alone, just this, we can see a Jew is permitted to violate a Gentile woman, either by taking their virginity or by making them commit adultery through forced intercourse, justified if their quote-unquote natural inclination overcomes them. Now, a Jew might tell you, oh, well, natural inclination is not a bad thing, right? It's just the nature of humans. Well, let's break that down. Let's see if it actually means this, or, if it's a harmless desire. We'll find out. The word used in Hebrew is yetzer, which means inclination, right? That's the word that's used. But in Judaism, there's two types of inclination. And this passage doesn't declare which one, but from context and commentaries we can find out. So the two we have are yetzeh, hatov, and yetzeh, hara. The good inclination, hatov, and the evil inclination, hara. Rashi, a French Jewish scholar and commentator from the 11th century through to the very, very early 12th, known for his commentaries on the Torah and Talmud, states in Deuteronomy 21:10-11, where this ruling is derived from, but scripture in permitting this marriage is speaking only against the evil inclination, which drives him to desire her. So from Rashi, we know it's not a good inclination. It's not that he wants to marry her like the Bible actually states. It states, if you take a woman captive and you wish to marry her, then you can do so. But if she doesn't want to marry, you let her go. The Jews take this and say, well, wait there a second. If you get too horny and your evil inclination overcomes you, you are allowed to have sex with them against their will. But anyway, now that we've established that the passage refers to a yetzer hara and not a yetzer hatov, the good inclination, the only logical conclusion is that this passage condones the rape of captive women. After all, who in their right mind would willingly have sex with a person who killed their entire family and took them captive? Now, although Gad Shas doesn't exist as a book, and the quote is not verbatim, the statement itself is very accurate. A Jew cannot marry a Gentile girl, but they can violate them by taking them captive and raping them if their evil inclination, Yetzer Hara, overcomes them. So, the quote should read, a Jew cannot marry a Gentile girl, but can take them captive in war and rape them if their evil inclination overcomes them. Bit of a longer quote, but there's no way a Jew can try and wiggle their way out of this one by, doing good old verbatim fallacy saying, well, it doesn't say that verbatim. Well, that's what it infers. So that's the fourth quote, guys. Now, this is the fifth one. Avodah Zarah 36b. Gentile girls are in a state of nida, filth, is how the meme renders it, from birth. Now, guess what? Adam spent 32 seconds on this quote. That's the longest he spent on any of the quotes so far. He claims nida doesn't mean filth, and that the text actually reads, they decreed on the daughters of idolaters that the tumor of nida comes to them while they are in their cradle. And he also asserts that it doesn't mention the word Gentile or Goy. So let's find out if it does mention the word Gentile or Goy. Because for some reason, this guy loves to claim that we, alright, he says it multiple times, by the way. I think I have some timestamps in the Substack. If you watch his video, he says, this is unfair. The Goy keep referring to themselves as idol worshippers and changing idol worshipper to Goy. We didn't do that. That was your people who did that. Alright? It was your people who did that to try and make it seem more appeasable. It wasn't us, so they can't blame it on us. The reading from Safaria is, they decreed that from when they are young, Gentile women are always considered to be menstruating. Now, this is what it actually means. But Ali said in the name of Avimi, Nivata, who said in the name of Rav, their bread, their oil, their wine, and their daughters, all of these are from the 18 decrees. What is meant by their daughters? Rav Nachman Bar Yitzhak said, they decreed that their daughters are nidot from the cradle. Nidot is like the noun version of nida, or what the meme rendered as filth. But we'll get into this. There wasn't much difference between Sonsino, so I didn't add it. So let's address Adam's claim even more. Does nida / nidot mean filth? First, we need to understand the meaning. Now, Sonsino's Talmud has a glossary where it has all of these different Hebrew words that you can look at. Now, the glossary isn't the best, but it's not bad. According to the glossary, the word nida refers to a woman in the period of menstruating. Now, let's see what the attitude is against a woman who is menstruating in Judaism. These are the 5 things. A man is forbidden from doing all these things if a woman is in nida. Touching her in any way, sleeping in the same bed, eating from the same plate, or drinking from the same cup, even pouring her a bath or washing her body. There's a big difference between the two. Just pouring the bath is bad enough. And this is the last one. Engaging in any romantic or flirtatious communication. And additional to this, a woman in nida is ritually impure and is not allowed to enter the holy temple or touch any sacred objects within the temple. So, to say this does not mean filth, but you have such a negative outlook towards the women who are in a state of nida, I don't agree. It definitely has a derogatory sentiment behind it. If you aren't even allowed to run your wife a bath because she is in a state of nida, crazy. And by the way, this concept of ritual impurity is also applied to Cushites and Mamzerites, so black people and bastards. But anyway, that's not the point of contention. Let's go to the next source to prove even further that this nida is filth. Because right now, we haven't justified the claim that nida is filth. We are getting there, but we haven't got there yet. So now we're in the Zohar, Chaye Sarah 3, line 19. This is how it reads. Thus when Eve came into the world, she attached herself to the serpent who injected his impurity into her. Now, the word rendered as impurity in this context is zuhama, which quite literally means filth, dirt, or contamination. Now, this proves that the concept of impurity in Judaism is not merely about menstruation, but is rooted in the belief that the serpent injected filth into Eve. Now, there's a different view how it was injected, whether it was spiritually injected or whether Eve had sex with the serpent. You'll find some people saying Eve had sex with the serpent and that's how it happened, and you'll find others saying other things. But Jews believe that because of the situation with Adam and Eve, all women were in a state of niddah from birth. But let's go to Shabbat 146, because it says all women, right? That should imply the Jews. Let's see if that's the case. Shabbat 146a. The snake came upon Eve when it seduced her to eat from the tree of knowledge. It infected her with moral contamination, and this contamination remained in all human beings. Then watch, this is the exception, guys. When the Jewish people stood at Mount Sinai, their contamination ceased, whereas the Gentiles did not stand at Mount Sinai, and their contamination never ceased. Never, guys. Now, in the Zohar, they'll take it as it can never cease, right? So we are always, even if we convert, even if we follow the Noahide laws. Now, in the Talmud, you'll find some opinions that say if we follow the Noahide laws, then it's not as extensive or crazy as a case, but that's not the case in the Zohar. So, in Shabbat 146a, actually, let me address the first part first. So, this is kind of the concept of original sin, by the way. You would surely think if original sin, which included filth, zuhama / niddah, right, the words used for filth, was injected into Eve, it would apply to everyone, since in Christianity, we believe that all of humanity inherited original sin, and that Christ's blood washes us clean from it, right? Now, there's going to be a difference between Catholics and Orthodox on original sin, but that's just general idea. But anyway, in Shabbat 146c, we see a starkly different belief. While the Talmud acknowledges the contamination remained in all human beings, it also teaches that when the Jews stood at Mount Sinai, their contamination ceased. In contrast, since Gentiles didn't stand at Mount Sinai, all contamination never ceased. Now, the word used here again, guys, is zuhama, meaning the text can accurately be rendered as the Israelites who stood at Mount Sinai, their filth never ceased. The Goyim who did not stand at Mount Sinai, I read it wrong, sorry. The Israelites who stood at Mount Sinai, their filth did cease, and then the Goyim who did not stand at Mount Sinai, their filth did not cease. Alright. So yet again, this further reinforces the belief and the fact at this point that impurity in Avodah Zarah 36b is referring to filth or zuhama. And the reason Gentiles are said to be decreed this filth from birth is that Jews believe only they have been cleansed from the filth injected into Eve, which according to this belief led to the existence of menstruation. Now, let's address the second part. We've already addressed the impurity does mean filth, alright, not just a state of menstruation. Now let's address whether it refers to Gentiles or not. Adam claims it's crazy because whoever made this meme, every time it says idolaters, they change it to Gentiles. Now, very, very ironic, considering I've already proven in the refutation to quote number 1 that it wasn't Gentiles who changed the words from akum or of their kokavim to goyim or nokri, but in reality, it was the Jews themselves who altered and omitted words, replacing the original goyim or nokri with akum and of their kokavim in an effort to make the passage more palatable. I just realized I typed akum twice, so I need to remove that one when I go back into it. Alright, but now that we've addressed it does refer to Gentiles, and it does mean filth, let's head back to the quote. Now, in the same passage, by the way, guys, same passage, Avodah Zarah 36b, just in line 2 this time, instead of all the way down. it says the statement is derived from something called the 18 decrees / matters, right? Or the Shemona Asra Dava. This refers to a set of rabbinical laws enacted by the sages of the Talmud to strengthen separation between Jews and Gentiles, to maintain the Jewish identity, and to protect the religious observance. Now, these decrees were established by the students of Hillel and Shammai, the two schools, on a singular day under turbulent circumstances, as recorded in the Babylonian Talmud, Shabbat 13b to 17b, and Avodah Zarah 35b to 36b. Now, we know it means Gentiles because every single thing to do with the 18 decrees is in reference to you can have their wine or you cannot have their wine, you can have their oil or not, you can have their bread or not. Now, this is food restrictions from Jews eating from a Gentile. So for them to say it's an idol worshipper is completely wrong, because you ask any genuine Jew, every single one of them will all agree that they cannot take wine from a Gentile. All right? Or the certain circumstances, but food in general, right? Food in general. Now let's prove this even more. Mishneh Torah, Forbidden Foods, 17, line 9. Now, pretty much at the start of it, it says these decrees were about the 18 decrees. The 18 decrees. And this is what it says below that. The decrees were to separate the Gentiles so that the Jews will not intermingle with them and intermarry. So, with that alone, we've proven that it does refer to Gentiles. But we'll carry on. It further proves by Maimonides, where the direct translation reads, they decreed them in order to distance the Jews from, guess what word it used, guys? Akum, even though we know that means Gentile by now. We've been through it enough times. So that Israel would not intermingle with them and come to intermarriage. Adam also points out that the word akum is used here. However, from previous refutations, to quote number 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm pretty sure I've had to address it in every single one by now. I've already demonstrated that akum refers to Gentiles in general, and the original wording was most likely goyim, but due to censorship, the word was altered. Now, let's render the quote how it should be rendered, guys. Let's go to the beginning so you can see how the meme rendered it. The meme rendered it, Gentile girls are in a state of niddah, filth, from birth. This is how it should be rendered. You're going to notice it's not too far off. The sages decreed that the daughters of the Gentiles are full of / in a state of zenuma, filth, from birth / their cradles. So, realistically, the quote wasn't that far off. They actually did a pretty decent job. Alright. Let's move on to quote number 6. Sanhedrin 54b. Now, again, a lot of people have probably heard this quote. A Jew may have sex with a child as long as the child is less than 9 years old. Adam claims the text actually reads, the male in question, the one who commits sodomy, who is liable for the death penalty, must be 9 years old on one day. So let's examine whether this is true. He gives it about 40 seconds of his time, just to lie. Let me render the whole thing. Alright, so it reads, the Torah does not deem the intercourse of one who is less than 9 years old to be like the intercourse of one who is at least 9 years old. Then, in line 21, it says, if a child who is less than 9 years old engages in homosexual intercourse passively, the one who engages in intercourse with him actively is not liable. Now, he doesn't use the word actively there, but this is the actual rendering. Now, we're going to take from the Sonsino rendering because it adds a very interesting word. Very interesting word. Our rabbis taught, in the case of a male child, a young one is not regarded as on par with an old one. But a young beast is treated as an old one. For some reason, anytime they talk about sex, by the way, they always relate it to animals for some reason. It's very strange. But nonetheless. What is meant by this, Rab said? Pedastre, or pederaste, right, which is pretty much the pedophilia, with a child below 9 years of age is not deemed as pederaste with a child above that. Samuel said, pedastre with a child below 3 years is not treated as with a child above that. What is the basis of their dispute? Rab maintains that only he who is liable to engage in sexual intercourse may, as the passive subject of pederasty, throw guilt upon the active offender, whilst he who is unable to engage in sexual intercourse cannot be the passive subject of pederasty in that respect. Now, looking at both translations of the text, there's a few points to address before expanding into the other passages which are going to prove the point. Now, to reach a proper conclusion, let's define what these two important terms mean that's going to help clarify it. So, when it says actively engaging in intercourse, this refers to the penetrating party, the shochev. Now, when it says passively engaging in intercourse, this refers to the receptive party, the nishkav. Now, Rav holds to the position that if a male under 9 engages in active intercourse, it isn't considered halically significant or / legally valid because his actions are not legally recognized as full intercourse. Therefore, if a male under 9 years old is the passive partner, the receptor in the male-male relationships, the adult involved is also not liable because the child's involvement is not considered legally valid intercourse. Now, this draws the principle of any halakha, Jewish law, that applies to the active partner, the penetrating party, also applies to the receptive party. Very, very strange. So, because in reversal, if the boy is under 9 years old and he is the penetrating party, he is not liable, sorry. That also somehow means that when he is the receiving party from a grown man, the grown man is also not liable. Now, this is a very crazy punishment because it pretty much just lets people get away scot-free with pedophilia, which we see all the time within the Jewish community. But anyway, the main question the passage seeks to determine is, at what age does sodomy trigger legal punishment, and at what age is a participant considered to have engaged in intercourse in a legally recognized way? Now, from the passage, we conclude that the minimum age of legal recognition of homosexual intercourse in Judaism is 9 years old. If a boy is under 9, is the receiving party in sodomy, the adult partner who rapes him is not liable for any punishment because the act is not considered or recognized as intercourse under Jewish law whatsoever. Now, before we move on, bear with me. Alright. Alright, anyway. This ruling applies specifically to sodomy. But I do mention in the Substack that I will be doing a full Substack article on child marriage and intercourse within the Talmud, which will explore the legal age for girls in general detail. Because, by the way, if you didn't know, 9 years and 1 day old is for boys. 3 years and 1 day old is for girls, right? So it's even worse the opposite way around. But if you want to see the... I'm not going to go through it because it's not related to the quote. I'm just going to skip to the quote. But I did give a little teaser of what will be on the child marriage Substack. But anyway, the quote should read, "There is no punishment for an adult man who penetrates a minor boy under 9 years and 1 day old." That's how the quote should read, guys. Directly. Alright, we're on to quote number 7. There is only five quotes left, I believe. Anyway. Sanhedrin 58b. If a goy hits a Jew, he must be killed. That's how the meme renders it. Adam claims the text reads, yet again, guys, look at what word he uses, Ovdei kokavim, so an idolater, one who worships the stars, if they strike a Jew, they are liable for the death penalty. He then argues, it doesn't say if a Gentile strikes a Jew, it says if an idolater strikes a Jew. Additionally, he reads one paragraph down and claims that it states, One who strikes a man is like one who strikes the jaw of the Holy One, God. It's not talking about Jews in general. It's just talking about one who hits another man is like you're hitting God. But we've already addressed that when it uses the word man, it only refers to Jews. But let's see if even in the text it uses the word man or it uses the word Jew. Let's see how disingenuous he's being. Alright. So, direct translation from Safari is a Gentile, so it uses the word Goyim, who strikes a Jew, Yisrael, is liable for death. So, guys, it doesn't say of their kokavim. The phrase is nowhere to be found in the passage. The word is goy. Singular goy. Not even goyim, goy for singular. Which explicitly means Gentile. This demonstrates how disingenuous these Jews truly are. But let's move on to his second claim about it saying, one who strikes the cheek of a man is like he has struck the cheek of God. Let's see if that is the case or not. So, we go to line 18, one line down from Sanhedrin 58b. Direct translation, actually we'll go, the Safari translation is, one who slaps the cheek of a Jew, not man, is considered as though he slapped the cheek of the divine presence. Now let's see what the Hebrew translation is. One who strikes the jaw of a Jew, nothing to do with man, guys. It is as if he strikes the jaw of the Shekhinah, the divine presence, as it is stated. It is a snare for a person to rashly say it is holy. Adam tried to claim that the passage only states one who strikes a man is like one who strikes the jaw of God. And that it's not talking about Jews in general, but it's talking about hitting any type of man. Now, this attempted refutation is absolutely hilarious, considering I'm pretty sure Adam King can read Hebrew. Alright, I'm pretty sure he can read Hebrew, because he was reading the passage in Hebrew, then translating it. But for some reason, he conveniently skipped over the word Yisrael, which clearly shows the passage only refers to striking the cheek of a Jew or of someone they consider Am Israel, right? So, with the context from the previous paragraph, we also know that the one doing the slapping is referring to a Gentile. But I think we all know why he chose to omit that, which is fine. So, this is how the quote should actually read, guys. A Gentile who hits a Jew is liable to receive a death penalty. Now, that's verbatim from Safaria. We didn't even need to paraphrase. We just verbatim quoted it, right? We just verbatim quoted it, and it read exactly how it should have read. Not too far off the, what's it called? Off the how the meme rendered it. Because the meme rendered it, let's go to how the meme rendered it again. If a guy hits a Jew, he must be killed. Which is true. A death penalty means you're gonna be killed. That's how it works. Alright. Where are we now? Quote 8, guys. Number 8. Sanhedrin 57a. When a Jew murders a Gentile, there will be no death penalty. Adam claims, in quotes, it doesn't say that at all, and insists that the text actually reads, whoever sheds the blood of a man, his blood shall be shed. And then for some reason, he quoted a random passage. He didn't even name the passage. He just quoted something random without saying it. And he didn't even open the book to read it. So I'm guessing he's lying about it. And claims it stated, an Israelite is certainly thus prohibited against killing anyone, even an idolater. Afterward, he reaffirms the same falsehood he's been pushing throughout the entire video, saying, it's not about Gentiles, it's about idolaters. So, let me take a sip of water real quick before we address it. Alright, so the text on Safaria reads, if a Jew murders a Gentile, he is exempt. Now, what it says before that It says, as it is taught in the first clause with regard to bloodshed, if a Gentile murders another Gentile, or a Gentile murders a Jew, he is liable. If a Jew murders a Gentile, he is exempt from the punishment. It's speaking about capital punishment, so there's no capital punishment for if a Jew murders a Gentile, guys. Now, for Adam to say it only states whoever sheds the blood of a man, his blood shall be shed, is very disingenuous, because it says with regard to bloodshed, not anything to do with whoever sheds the bloodshed. But here's the direct Hebrew translation. But isn't it the case that whenever there is a liability for death, the Mishnah teaches it explicitly, as it teaches in the first clause, for bloodshed, nothing to do with whoever sheds bloodshed, so for bloodshed, when a Gentile kills another Gentile, or when a Gentile kills a Jew, he is liable. But when a Jew kills a Gentile, he is exempt. Now, the fact that Adam tried to, quote-unquote, Jew his way out of this passage by claiming it only refers to idolaters is hilarious. The passage is clearly establishing 3 distinct categories. You've got Goy be Goy, you've got Goy be Yisrael, and you've got Yisrael be Goy. Goy be Goy means a Gentile who kills another Gentile. Goy be Israel means a Gentile who kills a Jew. And Yisrael be Goy means a Jew who kills a Gentile. Now, for the Goy be Goy, which is in the Hebrew, by the way, guys, not a made-up term, right? Or a phrase, the Gentile who kills a Gentile is liable. Goy be Yisrael, a Gentile who kills a Jew is liable. But Yisrael be Goy, a Jew who kills a Gentile, is exempt. Now, this proves that the entire passage is about the different legal standards for Jews and Gentiles and has nothing to do with idolatry whatsoever. As usual, the Jew is lying to manipulate the narrative. Now, let's address the fake passage Adam created out of thin air. So I gave him the courtesy of quoting his passage, and we're going to address it. Even though it doesn't exist, it doesn't matter. We can still address it. He says, an Israelite is certainly thus prohibited against killing anyone, even an idolater. But guys, let's stay in the same tractate. Let's stay in the exact same tractate. Sanhedrin 57a, line 10. 6 paragraphs earlier, guys. This is what it states. Gentiles should be executed for idol worship too. So I don't know where he pulled this fake quote from, but guess what? In the same tractate, it says a Gentile should be executed for idol worship. Now, maybe I'm clueless, but I do believe execution probably leads to death, right? So saying that an Israelite is prohibited against killing anyone, even an idolater, is wrong, right? Is definitely wrong. But let's stack some sources on him to prove it even more. So I provide 2 quotes from the Maimonides, Mishnah Torah, Kings and Wars 9, and Foreign Worship and Customs of the Nations 2. Alright, here's how Kings and Wars reads. A Noahide is executed for every type of foreign worship which a Jewish court would consider worthy of capital punishment. Now this is how Foreign Worship and Customs of the Nations 2 reads. If a person commits an act of idolatry high-handedly, whether he be a native born or a convert, he is blaspheming God. Therefore, a person who worships false gods is to be hanged, just as one who blasphemes against God is hanged. Both are executed by being stoned to death. So, the Jew tried to lie, and what did? We stacked saucers on top of his head and beat him over the head with it, right? It proves that Adam is nothing but a lying Jew who thinks he can get away with blatant deception. Now, this is how the quote should read, guys. If a Jew murders a Gentile, there is no death penalty. How did the meme render it? When a Jew murders a Gentile, there will be no death penalty. Wasn't rendered wrong whatsoever. It was rendered perfectly fine. Now, quote 9, guys. Quote 9. Tospoth Jebamoth, which is another book that doesn't exactly as exist, but my guess is it refers to Tosafot Yevamot, right? It's just a different spelling of the phrase. Because if you didn't know, all throughout the 1900s, 1800s, the way they like spelled the Talmud was, or like the tractates from the Talmud, was very different. If you go to the German sources, which are translated to English, you'll see it says like Yebamoth, or if you go to the Talmud flyers, you'll see it says Yabamoth, but the Jews render it on Safaria as Yevamot. But in Sonsino, it is rendered as Yebamoth. So it's just a bit of a translation error. Not a translation error. Both of them mean the same thing. It's just Hebrew has many different like words you can use. But anyway, the quote is in 92b, apparently. The meme renders it as, if you eat with a goy, it's the same as eating with a dog. Now, Adam claims this isn't the Talmud, it's a commentary on the Talmud centuries later, which is true. But notice how he doesn't deny the quote exists. He only spends 5 seconds on it, by the way, guys. 5 seconds. And all he said is, it's not the Talmud, it's a commentary on the Talmud. But he doesn't say the quote doesn't exist. So, according to him, it may possibly exist. Now, while I can't find the exact source, since most Tosafot don't have English translations to them, we can still understand the sentiment from Jews themselves and from other Talmudic passages. Now, I added a clip of a Jew. Now, there is a clip of a rabbi, by the way, which I was trying to find the clip, but I don't know where it is. So if anyone has the clip of the Jew saying that eating at the table with a Gentile is like eating with a dog, please send it me so I can attach it to the Substack, or put it in the purple pill and then I can attach it to the Substack, because I couldn't find it, but it does exist because I've watched the video, right, where the Jew affirms the quote verbatim. But nonetheless, I did add what I could at the time, and I did add a video from a Jew, one of the settlers in Palestine, saying a Gentile and a Jew are not even supposed to eat at the same table. Now, we can definitely go through this claim. The woman claims that a Gentile or Jew are not allowed to eat at the same table, which somewhat verifies the quote. Now, let's dive into their scripture to explore it further. Avodah Zarah 8a, line 17, and Avodah Zarah 8b, line 1, as well as Mishnah Torah Forbidden Foods 17, line 9. These three passages, Avodah Zarah 8a, 8b, and Mishnah Torah Forbidden Foods 17, all prove that Jews are prohibited from attending a Gentile's feast, or even eating our food, or drinking our wine. In 8a it says, in the case of a Gentile who prepared a feast for the marriage of his son and invited all the Jews in his town, the verse ascribes guilt to them, the Jews, as though they ate the offerings to the dead. So they're not allowed, guys. Not allowed to do so. 8b states, if the Gentile invites a Jew to a feast, it is prohibited to attend the feast. Mishnah Torah Forbidden Foods 17 states, to separate from the Gentiles so that the Jews will not intermingle with them and intermarry, it is forbidden to drink alcoholic beverages with them, and they forbade eating from their bread and cooked dishes. Now, we've gone through how they can't eat at the table with a Jew, or, well, the Jew can't eat at a table with a Gentile, even, and that they can't even eat our food whatsoever, at all. Let's go through the dog part. Let's try render something to do with the idea of a dog. Something to do with it. Let's find out. Yevamot 98a. So we're going back to two passages we already went through, guys. The offspring of a male Gentile is considered no more related to him than the offspring of donkeys and horses. And the Jewish people are called man, but Gentiles are not called man. As well as Be'etzah 25b line 8, which says, 3 are the impudent ones, which means like rowdy, aggressive, etc. Now listen, everyone remember this quote, because the Jews are admitting something very damning. Now it's not the point of contention, but it is something good for you to know. So, it says, 3 are the impudent ones. The Jewish people among the nations, aka among the Gentiles. Now, that's not the point in contention, but they admit that Jews are violent while living among the nations. All right, well, they are hostile while living among the Gentiles, which we all agree. So that's a good quote. But then it says, the dog among the animals and the rooster among the birds. So, you know, they're pretty much saying that dogs are violent animals, right? But anyway. So in addition to those three passages, two of which I already addressed in quote number 2 and 3, all of them show that Gentiles are likened to the flesh of donkeys, the semen of horses. Gentiles are not considered human. Dogs are seen as violent animals, and Jews have a negative view of dogs in general. Now, this suggests that the quote could indeed exist as dog, and may have been used as a derogatory term for Gentiles, even though I can't find the exact passage that states dog. The sentiment is clearly present for animals in general, since Jews are forbidden from eating at our feasts, and we are considered beasts rather than humans, likened to the flesh of donkeys and the semen of horses. This is how the quote should read. If Jews cannot eat food from Gentiles or attend a Gentile's feast, and Gentiles are considered beasts likened to the flesh of donkeys and semen of horses. So, if anyone does have the clip of the rabbi saying that eating at the table with a Gentile is like eating with a dog, please send it me through, because I've been searching for it. Can't find it. It'd be great to add to the Substack, because it would refute his clip right away. But anyway, quote number 10. Only 2 more quotes, people. Only 2 more quotes. Everyone, if you want to see what I'm showing, by the way, Rumble, or you can watch the Rumble after, to look at the entire Substack, pretty much. So, Bava Metzia 24a. This is how the meme reads it. If a Jew finds an object lost by a Gentile, it does not have to be returned. Adam claims the text states, if a person finds an object, he is obligated to make an announcement that he found the object before he takes it. He also asserts that in previous chapters where the word idolater was switched out for Gentiles, here the word Canaanite is being exchanged for Gentiles. Now, let's break this down. He spent 25 seconds on it, so he did a good bit of yapping. So let's break the claim down. Bava Metzia 24a 14 reads, if there is a majority of Gentiles, he is not obligated to proclaim his finds. Elazar says, the item belongs to the finder. It is referring specifically to a place where there is a majority of Gentiles. But in a place where there is the majority of Jews, no, it doesn't belong to the finder. So Jews believe in finders keepers, as long as the city is majority Gentiles, guys. So Adam, who said it says, if a person finds it, a person in general, he is obligated to make the announcement. Well, that's just not true. The part he's talking about is where it says, if the city has a majority of Jews, he is obligated to proclaim his find. But then it says if it's majority Gentiles, he's not obligated. So, which one is it, Adam? Which one is it? Direct translation is, come and hear. If one found a lost item, if the majority are Jews, he is obligated to announce it. If the majority are Gentiles, he is not obligated to announce it. So from this alone, we can see how deceptive the Jew is. He tried to claim that the text says any person who finds a lost object must announce it, but that's not the case whatsoever. In reality, the obligation to announce a found object only applies if the item is found in an area that is majority Jewish, because Jews are not allowed to steal from other Jews. However, they are allowed to steal from Gentiles. Let's take it even further, guys. Let's go to Sanhedrin 76b, line 2. And Mishnah Torah, robbery and lost property 11. It's time to just dump sources on top of his head. Now, let's look at what it says, guys. So Sanhedrin 76b states, one who returns a lost item to a Gentile are all individuals who are the cause of sin. So it's a sin to return the item. Then says, one who returns a lost property to Gentiles adds to the property that they stole from the Jews. Absolutely wild. Mishnah Torah, robbery and lost property, chapter 11, verse 3 states, it is permissible to keep an object lost by an idolater. We already know what that idolater means by now, guys. We don't need to go over it again. It means Gentile. If one returns such an article, one transgresses a prohibition, for one strengthens the power of the wicked peoples of the world. Insane. According to these two passages, returning a lost item to a Gentile adds to the property they stole from the Jews and strengthens the power of the wicked people of the world. Now, another source, Bava Kama 38a, line 3. Direct translation from Safaria, we'll skip their reading, but it pretty much says, he arose and permitted their money to the Jewish people so that in certain cases Jews are not liable for damage caused to Gentiles. So, direct translation is, he stood there and measured the earth. He saw and released the nations. He saw that the descendants of Noah accepted upon themselves the 7 Noahide laws. But since they did not fulfill them, he permitted their property to Israel. Here we see that Baba Kama states that God arose and permitted the Gentiles' property to the Jews. The word for property here is mammonan, which comes from the word mammon, which means money, wealth, or possessions, which demonstrates that Jews believe Gentiles' possessions are being handed over to them by their false demonic God. Also, the last part of the phrase, so that in certain cases Jews are not liable for damages caused to Gentiles. Because how can they be liable, guys, if they quote unquote have been permitted all of our wealth? So the quote should read, if a Jew finds a lost object in an area that is majority Gentiles, it does not need to be returned because God has permitted all the possessions of the Gentiles to the Jews. So it's even worse. Notice how Adam tries to do saving grace and try to quote unquote debunk this meme. But what happens? You dive into it to debunk his refutation and you find out the quotes are actually even worse than that. But anyway, 11th quote, second to last, guys. Avodah Zarah 22a through 22b. They render it as Gentiles, Goys prefer sex with cows. Adam claims the passage doesn't say Gentiles but rather idol worshippers, and that it is discussing, quotes, if you can buy a cow from an idol worshipper to offer in the temple, and it's saying no, voice crack, and it's saying no because in many of the idolatrous practices they have sex with animals. So let's take a look at the text itself. Avodah Zarah 22a, line 11. One may not keep an animal in the inns of Gentiles, alright, Gentiles, not idol worshippers, because they are what? Suspected of bestiality. Suspected of it. Direct translation from Safaria is, Mishnah, one may not place the animal in the inns of non-Jews because they are suspected of bestiality. The word used in Avodah Zarah for non-Jews is goyim, not akum, or not ovdei kochavim, so we can't say it means idol worshippers. Now, one could argue that contextually, when this was written, it might have referred to the Greek pagan practices, which included bestiality, because the word is befun de kaot, which is a Greek word, right? It referred to Greek inns. However, I could just as easily argue that it extends to Christians, since the Talmud likens Balaam to Jesus Christ in Sanhedrin 105 and other passages. In these references, Balaam is said to have sex with his donkey, which is connected to Jesus in, and I quote, Christianity in the Talmud and Midrash by R. Travers Herford, page 72, and Jesus in the Talmud by Peter Schaeffer, page 101. Furthermore, I could also argue the passage refers to Gentiles in general, because as I have already proven in my refutations to quote number 1 and 2, anything that originally referred to idol worshippers is now applied to all Gentiles, just as laws that are originally applied to the 7 nations of Canaan have also been extended to all Gentiles. Let's take it further. Avodah Zarah 22b, 11. Now, the meme quoted from 22a to 22b. So surely Adam should have read through 22a to 22b. But did he do so? No, he didn't. So let's read it. The animal of a Jew is more appealing to Gentiles than their own wives. Now let's look at why. When the snake came upon Eve, it infected her with moral contamination. This contamination lingers in all human beings. If that is so, a Jew should also be suspected of engaging in bestiality. No, no, no. The Gemara says the Jewish people who stood at Mount Sinai and received the Torah, their contamination ended. Whereas in the case of Gentiles who did not stand at Mount Sinai and receive the Torah, their contamination has not ended. So the same quote we went on earlier, guys, about filth and nidah in the cradle also refers to being suspected of engaging in bestiality. So just remember, guys, a Jew believes that their wife is more appealing to us, or sorry, their animal is more appealing to us than our own wives. How disgusting and disrespectful and dehumanizing is that, guys? Direct translation is, and if you prefer, say, even if he finds it, the animal, he also commits bestiality with it, for the master said, their sexual desire for the livestock of Israel is greater than for their own wives. So the direct translation is even worse, guys, because it's a sexual desire, which we'll prove in a second. Now, this is the part in Avodah Zarah 22b that Adam deliberately chose to ignore because he knows it proves the quote is 100% true to a T. It explicitly states that a Gentile's desire for a Jew's animal is greater than that for his own wives. Now, let's go through what the word desire means. Now, the word for desire in the passage is shavivach. We know this refers to a sexual desire because the entire discussion revolves around bestiality. Now, what is bestiality? Having sex with animals. Also, it references the same story, which I addressed in my refutation to quote number 5, Shabbat 146a. Now, the passage Shabbat 146a states that Gentiles are contaminated with filth from birth, and according to rabbis, this filth introduced lust into mankind. Now, in the eyes of a Jew, lust is sex. So there, the desire is obviously about sex, not just a desire to want that animal. It's a desire to have sex with that animal. Alright, so the quote should read, guys, Gentiles are suspected of bestiality and their sexual desire for animals is greater than that for their own wives. Absolutely insane. The Jew has he's been proven wrong on every single quote so far. And there's a reason Adam King never joins a space whatsoever, because he would get ragdolled. Last quote. I believe it's the last quote. Yep, last quote, guys. Bava Kama 113b. A Jew may use lies to circumvent a Gentile. Adam claims, quotes, it doesn't say that Jews may use lies to circumvent a Gentile. They're talking about tax collectors, not Gentiles. The reference is to a customs collector who has no limit to the amount he is allowed to collect. He also says, this is based, guys. This is so based. Which, in a second, we're going to see that this is tax evasion. So the Jew is saying tax evasion is based. Can we get a well? Alright. Anyway, Bava Kama 113a. That's where we're going to start. Alright? Because this Jew ran away from the actual source. Line 21. The Mishnah states, issues its ruling with regard to a Gentile custom. Notice how it says Gentile custom collector, not a custom collector. A Gentile's custom collector whom one may deceive. So we have the word deceive. As it is taught in a Bereisha, external work, in the case of a Jew and a Gentile who approach the court for judgment in a legal dispute, if you can make the Jew innocent under Jewish law, do so, and say to the Gentile, this is our law. And if he can be made innocent under Gentile law, do so, and say to the Gentile, this is your law, and if it is not possible to make him innocent under either systems of law, one approaches the case circuitously, seeking a justification to make the Jew seem innocent. Alright, direct translation is: the ruling of the Mishnah is stated with regard to a Gentile customs collector, as it is taught in a Bereishah. If a Jew and a Gentile become before the court of judgment, if you can vindicate the Jew according to the Jewish law, vindicate him and say to the Gentile, this is our law. If you can be vindicated according to the Gentile's law, vindicate him and say to the Gentile, this is your law. Now, to claim that the passage in Bava Kama refers only to a tax collector is very disingenuous. While the initial example does involve a tax collector, it is merely a case used to illustrate a broader principle. Not to mention, it's not any tax collector, it's a Gentile's tax collector who a Jew may deceive. Deceive, guys, to evade his taxes. And even Adam, if you watch Adam's point on it, he literally says, yeah, it's speaking about how if a tax collector comes, then you can dodge paying the tax. Or whatever he said. Which, tax evasion. Very, very Jewish. Which we can see from the actions of the Jews, from the fruits of the Jews, guys. All they do is tax evasion, etc. Anyway, so it's merely a case used to illustrate a broader principle, namely that one should find any way possible to deem a Jew innocent or not guilty in a court. This principle applies to all legal situations, not just those involving a tax collector, and I challenge anybody to prove otherwise, anyone on earth. Also, Adam claims this passage isn't speaking about Gentiles, even though the words goy and its plural, goyim, appear 3 different times in the passage, twice in singular and once in plural. So this shows the entire passage discusses the difference in law between Jews and Gentiles. So to suggest that this is merely a general principle about humans and tax collectors is just another example of Jewish deception. Ironically, deception is the main theme of the passage in general. So perhaps Adam applied what he learnt from Bava Kama in this video, and he also seems to think that promoting tax evasion is quote-unquote based, as he himself stated, which only reinforces the stereotype about Jewish people. Now, the quote should read, guys, in court, Jews should use deception to find any possible way to deem a Jew innocent. Now, that's the last quote, guys. Alright, that's the last quote. I do have a tiny conclusion written. Tiny conclusion. And then I rectified the Talmud sheet and actually made it again. Made a new one with the correct quotes. So, I'll read the conclusion and then we'll go through all the quotes. And we'll see if they're worse than what we thought they would be. Alright, Adam's attempt at refuting this Talmud flyer was embarrassing. He claimed that one of the books didn't exist, even though it does. He claimed we, the Gentiles, replaced the word idolaters with Gentiles, when in reality it was his rabbis who did that, and not us. He claimed certain passages referred to all people in general, or didn't even refer to Gentiles, even though the word Gentile or Goyim was used multiple times. Now, the Jew tried and failed, as usual. So here's an updated and corrected Talmud flyer you can use to be more effective when exposing these Talmudic demons. Alright, Sophorim 15a. The best of Gentiles should all be killed, even if we are not in the time of war. Yevamot 98a. The children of Gentiles are more closely related to donkeys and horses than to humans. Bava Metzia 114b. Gentiles are considered beasts and only Jews are considered human/man. Mishnah Torah Forbidden Intercourse 12:1 plus Kings and Wars 8 line 2-3. A Jew cannot marry a Gentile girl, but can take them captive in war and rape them if their evil inclination overcomes them. Avodah Zarah 36b. The sages decreed that the daughters of Gentiles are full of / in a state of zanuma, filth from birth / their cradles. Sanhedrin 54b. there is no punishment for an adult man who penetrates a minor boy under 9 years old on one day. Sanhedrin 58b. A Gentile who hits a Jew is liable to receive a death penalty. Sanhedrin 57a. If a Jew murders a Gentile, there is no death penalty. Avodah Zarah 8a through b plus Yevamot 98a plus Bava Metzia 114b plus Mishnah Torah Forbidden Food 17, I believe. But I forgot to add it in. Jews cannot eat from a Gentile or attend a Gentile's feast, and Gentiles are considered beasts, likened to the flesh of donkeys and semen of horses. Bava Metzia 24a. If a Jew finds a lost object in an area that is majority Gentile, it does not need to be returned because God has permitted all the possessions of the Gentiles to the Jews. Avodah Zarah 22a through 22b. Gentiles are suspected of bestiality, and their sexual desire for animals is greater than that for their own wives. Last one. Bava Kama 113b and 113a. In court, Jews should use deception to find any possible way to deem a Jew innocent. Now, that has come to the end. That is all of Adam's claims refuted within the Substack and now read out within the space. Let me find where I posted this picture, and I'll put it back in the bubble again. So if anyone wants to use an actual updated Talmud flyer, which quotes verbatim and actually has evidence to back it up. So if a Jew says, or a Gentile says, oh, well, I searched up the quote and it doesn't say that, guess what? You can send them to the Rumble stream, or you can send them to the Substack article, and it's going to prove, yes, it does say that. All right? Yes, it does say that. So, let me copy the image. And then after that, we'll get to some hands, guys. Alright. Here we go. Alright, should be in the bubble now, people. It's in the bubble now. Alright. I'm going to start accepting people up. Don't speak here, put your hands up, and we'll get to some hands. If Uncensored or Wolf has got anything to say before we get to these hands, go ahead, brothers.
No, loved it. That was awesome. It's great to, watch a whole walkthrough of a whole, some guy saying a bunch of dumb shit. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Perfect. All right, Nanak, we'll go with you first. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to understand. I mean, if you could recap it, kind of, because I guess you've been doing these shows for a long time or for some time, and I want to try to understand what you understand from the Talmud. What does the Gentile mean from your understanding of the Talmud?
Great question. So, we can use...
I mean, I heard what you say, but I want to know, like,
yeah, I got
the gist. You know, the summary.
Yeah, no problem. So, Gentile pretty much comes from goyim, right, or goy singular.
Right.
Mute your mic if you can, please. So it comes from goy singular, goyim plural, right? Gentile, according to page 620 of the Jewish Encyclopedia 1911 version, I believe, 620. You can still find it, by the way, because for some reason Jewish Encyclopedia has a website where they have every single encyclopedia they have. Gentile can refer to cattle, animals, subhuman, etc. And then you can also go to Jewish Virtual Library. Now they will also attest that Gentile, in its purest form of goyim, right, which means nations, technically, according to the Bible, has no negative connotations, but within Judaism there is a lot of connotations added to it, such as we are beasts, we are of the flesh of horses, or flesh of donkeys, semen of horses. What else? You go to the Zohar, our souls are inferior compared to the Jews. so on and so forth. So, in the purest form, a Gentile is a non-Jew. Now, the connotations of being a Gentile in reference to the Jewish belief is that we are subhumans, that we are cattle, that we are animals, that we are filthy from birth, so on and so forth. So that is what would be the meaning of Gentile.
I beg to disagree.
Go ahead. Are you Jewish?
No.
How do you disagree then? Go ahead.
Well, because I studied the Talmud too, and I studied Judaism. And this
Wait,
is the way...
wait, one sec. You said you're not Jewish, but I'm looking at your profile pic. You've got one picture with an LGBTQ rainbow, and you've got another one which has got Hebrew and a bunch of other bullshit on it. Is that a yarmulke in your profile pic?
The pic... No, it's not a yarmulke.
The tiny hat the Jews wear.
No. It's art.
It's art. Okay, so
Yeah,
why is it written? Why is it written in
LGBTQ.
Hebrew?
Because we learn just like
Are
you. We actually learn
are you a Noahide?
Yes, I'm a
Oh,
Noahide,
so you're a slave.
I'm not a
Yeah,
slave. What do
you
you
are.
mean by
You're a dirty slave. That's exactly what you are. You're a slave. All Noahides are
Okay, let's be
slaves.
respectful. Well, aren't you a slave?
I'm not a slave of the Jew, that's for sure. Now, Nanak, we have hands, so you go ahead. You said you disagree. Show me how you disagree.
Okay, so this is the way I disagree.
Go ahead.
There are not everything, just because you see, like later on, for example, they may say, there were Noahides always, by the way.
I didn't ask you about
I mean,
Noahides.
Abraham,
I didn't ask you about Noahides. You said...
non-Jews.
Buddy,
Noahides are non-Jews.
yes, no
okay?
shit. But you said that the word Gentile does not refer to what I said it referred to. So go ahead and show me how you disagree.
Right. So I'm explaining to you that
Yeah, but
there are
no
two
belly
different types
dancing.
of non-Jews.
Yeah, there's the righteous
Right.
Gentile, and there is just a Gentile.
Right. So the Gentile is the idol worshiper, and the righteous Gentile is the Noahide.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to. Right. So it
What's your
doesn't
point?
just mean just because. I'm sorry.
What's your point?
My point is that you're putting them all as non-Jews. That's not
No,
true.
I'm not, because the Talmud, if it's referring to Noahides, it will say the righteous Gentiles, which is just the slaves of the Jews. That's all you people are. You are slaves of the Jews.
We are all slaves, man.
No, you're a slave of the Jew.
And who are you a slave of?
I'm a slave of God.
Right? Not really.
Yes.
If you work, you're a slave.
You're a slave of the Jew.
Do
you know, Namak? Do you know who created this movement of Noahides?
It's been around for
Smart
thousands of years.
guy. Who created, right? Who founded the idea of Noahide-ism and preaching it to the Gentiles? Who founded it?
No, B'nai Noach has been around.
TheGoyFather, check the chat also, just so you know. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
You. Continue.
Nanak, I
Anyway,
didn't ask you. No, there's no anyway. No, I didn't ask you anything about where the name Noah came from. I asked you
B'nai
who
Noach.
came. Retard. I didn't ask you about the name Noah. Now.
Okay, can you be respectful?
No, because you're a
I'm
slave.
not.
You're a slave of the Jews. Respectfully, you're a slave of the Jews. You're a Noahide. All right. So, Nanak, I'm gonna ask you one more time. Who created this idea that Jews should preach Noahidism to the Gentiles? Now answer it.
They've been doing it for thousands
Retard.
of years.
When did the Jews ever preach Noahidism to the Gentiles? Go ahead.
Look it up in the Bible. It's right on the Bible.
No, where did the Jews preach Noahidism to the Gentiles?
From the Bible. You don't know what I'm talking about.
You're a retard. So, I'll tell you. The idea of preaching Noahidism to the Gentiles, the first ever movement, was from Menachem Mendel Schneerson. And guess what he said? He literally... shut the fuck up. Just because you're a Noahide does not mean you can act like a Jew. Remember, you are a slave of the Jews, an open slave of the Jews. Now, in Menachem Mendel Schneersson's work on becoming a Noahide, he literally states you must believe the Jewish race is superior. Now, Nanak, do you believe the Jewish race is superior? Go ahead.
You can be superior if you want to.
So
That depends on
retard,
you.
I asked you a question. Do you believe the Jewish race is superior?
It depends. Did you
Answer
read
it.
Deuteronomy?
Answer the
I am answering.
question.
The
Do
answer
you
is Deuteronomy.
believe the Jewish race as a whole is superior? Yes or no?
Deuteronomy.
Yes
Deuteronomy
or
28.
no? Answer the question.
Depends.
Depends on what?
This is how.
Depends on what?
On your actions. On your actions.
Now
On
listen.
whether
Now
you keep
you're
the
going against
commandments or not.
You're going against Noahidism. Nowhere in Noahidism
No,
does it say
not
it
really.
depends on the actions. No, Mike Matledge would bury you
Yeah,
under the
it
bus.
actually does because
No, it
Judaism
doesn't.
believes in the Tanakh.
Show me.
Yes, it
Show
does.
me. Nanak.
It believes
Nanak.
in
Nanak.
the Tanakh.
Nanak.
I'm telling
Nanak. You kike.
you have
You worshipper of the kikes. Be quiet. Show me anywhere within Menachem Mendel Schneersson's work on becoming a Noahide where it says you don't need to believe the Jews are superior or you are on par with the Jews. Because he doesn't say that. Because guess what? You can then go to the Tanya, his spiritual teacher, where it says the souls of the Gentiles comes from satanic, well, not satanic spheres, right, but comes from impurity, and the soul of the Jews comes from holiness. Now, do you believe the soul of the Jews, Nanak, is superior? Go ahead.
Can I answer? Will you let me talk?
And answer the question.
Okay, Deuteronomy 28.
Answer the fucking
It
question.
depends on your. I'm answering. It
No,
depends
no,
on your
answer
action.
what I've just asked you.
I don't follow the rabbi. If that's what your question
So
is.
then you're not a Noahide.
I'm a
You're a
Noahide,
slave.
but by the definitions of the sages.
The definitions of the pedophile sages.
Why are they pedophiles?
Because they
just
said
because of what?
they said
Okay,
you can
I
have
heard
sex
you.
with.
I heard what you said.
Yeah, they said you can have sex with 3-year-old girls. Is that pedophilic to you?
There's,
Is that pedophilic
there's
to you?
a difference. Listen.
Who's your favorite
Can I
rabbi?
answer?
Who's your favorite ancient rabbi?
Ancient rabbi.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't memorize the names
What?
of the rabbis. but I
Rambam,
don't know.
Maimonides, Joseph Caro. Who do you like?
Well, for the most part, I like them all. Those that you mentioned.
All
I
right.
like
Well,
them.
guess what? Evan Hatazar 37:1 says that a man can betroth his daughter through intercourse while she is 3 years and 1 day old. Do you think having sex with a 3-year-old girl is pedophilia?
Wait a minute. Oh no. Okay, can I explain?
No. Do you
What
believe
that
having
means?
sex with a 3-year-old girl is pedophilia?
Can I explain what that
Do you
passage-
believe having sex with a
That she
3-year-old
even
girl?
hesitates to answer this is
Exactly.
unbelievable.
This is the brain just contamination
You
that
can-
Jews do to these
Okay,
people.
look, you cannot. No, you
You're a
cannot.
slave.
When you cannot deem a child when there is a pedophilia, like a sexual relation with a
retard.
3-year-old.
I'm not speaking about Ketibot 11b6. Stop giving a program refutation for a different quote. I quoted you Evan Hatazar 37:1. It starts betrothal concerning a minor and says if a girl is 3 years and 1 day old, she may be betrothed through means of be'ah, which means sexual intercourse, which means a man can have sex with a 3-year-old girl, 3 years and 1 day old girl, and they get married through that act of intercourse. Do you think that is pedophilia? Yes or no? You have one time to answer it.
No, okay, fine.
The answer's no.
Long time ago,
The answer's no.
I am answering.
You fucking
No,
demon. You fucking demon. Listen, Nanak, you're gone. You couldn't even, actually this time she said it's not pedophilia to sleep with a 3-year-old girl. Judaism needs to be erased off the earth. How are they preaching
really couldn't answer
Noahidism to our people? Nanak, you were once one of us. Now you are no longer one of us. You are a demon. You have landed into the palms of pedophiles and murderers. You absolute demon. All right. Let's run to hands. I don't even know who's next, but let's forget about
James
the
before
Jew.
me, I believe.
Yeah, let's forget about the Jew. Who did he say? Did he say it was you, Canadian, or someone before you?
I think James was first.
All right, go ahead, James, and then we'll go Canadian.
Well, I know you didn't get much of this, GoyFather. There's a little applause. Fucking excellent, excellent show, Space. Listen, I was trying to search for that video of the rabbi stating what he said about feasting at the table, but I found one thing where it's like a 2 hour long presentation. Do you happen to know how big or long the clip was, and maybe what the guy looked like, or was he a famous rabbi or not?
So it was. I can't exactly remember. I know the rabbi, right, is sitting down and the camera is at like a somewhat weird angle. That's all I can like kind of memorize. If you send
like
me
in a
the
smaller,
clip, just send
like
me the video.
In a smaller classroom, like he's in a smaller classroom,
yeah.
like giving a little lecture.
Yep.
All right, I'll keep that in mind. Go ahead, that's
No
it.
problem.
Great work.
All right.
I'm gonna step down.
Good stuff. Canadian brother, go ahead.
All right, thanks, gentlemen. And wow, what an amazing space, GoyFather. I got gosh darn clinic. I gotta keep my swears to a minimum. I actually wanted to come up and ask a question to sort of elicit a type of like explanation on how you would deal with something that basically just happened before I even got up to ask the question, which was pretty fortuitous for me, I suppose. My question was going to be, because I was here listening to Debate Mitch the other week, and he did, obviously I think he did a great job, but they do this really kind of interesting thing where they try and reframe or rephrase these in ways where it's like, oh no, it doesn't mean what you think it means this. And I saw as you exegeted these texts that that there's a lot of kind of intricacies. You have to go back to the previous statements and learn what the context is. I'm wondering, like, because I'm going to take this image and learn from it as well, and obviously I'm going to review and revisit this this recording again. So I guess my question is, if you had to point to one or two of the ones that you've gone through, is there any way someone like Mitch could come up and try to derail the point even further by going back into scripture? And if so, is there like an easy way for people like us who are less knowledgeable to kind of have a defense against that? Because getting into debates with these people, it can end really poorly for us if we're not well equipped. And you're the best equipped person I've seen to deal with this kind of theological debate. So,
yep, great question. Yeah, so I agree, right? Debating the Talmud, just like anybody reading quotes from something, can end up with you getting embarrassed, right? Because say you read Ketubot 11b6 and it says an adult man who engaged in intercourse with a minor girl less than 3 years and 1 day old has done nothing, because it's the same as poking a finger into that eye. And then Mitch is going to say, oh, that just means there's no legal significance. But then he's going to tell you there's still a punishment. Now, most Gentiles, because they haven't read it, which is perfectly fine. Most of us haven't read it, right? We haven't gone in depth into it. They're gonna sit there and be like, oh, well, how do I refute that? If it's just saying, they can still get married, right? It doesn't remove their legal significance, so it doesn't harm them. Because Mitch will make the claim, right, that it's actually a good thing they say this, because it means the girl is still a virgin even if she was raped as a child, right? Which means she can still get married for a higher bride price. So we'll try and swindle it and make it seem like it's good. But the thing is, if you learn the Talmud, you understand there's zero punishment. I've been told by so many Jews there's a punishment, there's a punishment, there's a punishment. I went hunting for it. There's zero punishment. Not a single punishment is listed for the adult man who does it. Apart from in Mishnah Torah, Forbidden Intercourse 12, line 10, where it literally states the woman, or no, let me not say woman, the girl, the child should be killed because she caused the Jew to sin, even though it was the Jew who raped the girl, right? So it's that type of thing. Now, there's the way I would say it is, right? Go to certain quotes from rabbis, right, who say you can betroth a girl at 3 years and 1 day old through intercourse. There's no way they can get out of that. All you need to learn is what be'ah means. Be'ah is the act of intercourse, of how they are betrothed, right? It's one of the methods. Now, I'd recommend going to Evan Haezer 37, EVEN space HAEZER 37 1. Then it says 27 paragraphs, laws concerning betrothal of a minor. You go to the bottom one, it has a footnote for what bi'ah means. And it's going to tell you, upon the act of completion, or upon the completion of the act, and tells you the act is sexual intercourse, then she's betrothed. So when it says she is betrothed through intercourse, that means she has to have sex to complete the betrothal. Which doesn't mean they can get married and then consummate it later when she is mature enough to consecrate the marriage. No. It means you consecrate it that second. So yes, Jews can definitely run rings around a lot of us when it comes to the Talmud, because there is certain stuff where they'll be able to go to where it says stuff like, you cannot marry off your child while she is a minor. And you're going to look at that with your pure mind and be like, oh, a minor. All right, that means you can't, marry your child off. But in Judaism, in Berachot 24a12, a minor is considered anything below 3 years and 1 day old. Right? Other rabbis say 12 years and 1 day old. But that's a different type of minor. Right? I did another Rumble session on child marriage in the Talmud, by the way, so I can quote it. So there's stuff like that. And when it comes to the exegesis of these passages, right, I will do another Substack going through the exegesis of the child marriage passages. But if you want the one for this video, or this one, this session, right, on my Rumble, I have it on my screen as going through it, so you can read it from there. Or if you want it so you can save it or whatnot, I'm pretty sure on Substack you can save articles to a PDF. So you can go to my Substack and save that article to a PDF, and then you can have it, right? So in case anyone tries to lie and say it means this, it means that, yada yada yada, you can directly go to it, if it's within those quotes anyway, and then you can address them accordingly, right? And it'll be very easy. I'm probably going to make a long form debate layout against Jews. So I'll have the argument, and then what the suspected Jews' answers will be, and then a refutation to those answers, etc. Right? And then, I'll express how it works on the Jews and test it out, and then release it to people.
Amazing. Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking for, is that next step, because I know we're going to get into these debates individually with people, and we're going to have to use these references, and what's going to happen is they're going to, inevitably some of them are going to come up with some form of refutation that either wasn't considered, or that's how I'm thinking about it. And I just don't want to get caught in that position.
Yep.
But yeah, no, you do an amazing job.
Yep. The main thing a Jew will tell you is, it's hypothetical. Just ask them, why are your rabbis hypothetically talking about fucking kids? That's bad enough, right? Even if we give them, for the sake of the argument, that the quote's wrong, right? Or our exegesis of the quote is wrong. Why are your rabbis hypothetically talking about having sex with 3-year-old girls? Pretty fucking strange. It means that the Jews, if they had to implement a law like that, they were probably fucking kids at the time, right? They were probably doing so. Because Christians in canon law didn't need to implement any laws to do with having sex with 3-year-old girls, right? We just knew we weren't allowed to do so. But yeah, that's what I go for. If you're not the most knowledgeable, just go with something like that. All right, let's go to let's go with Thu, I believe, and then anyone else put your hand up. Go ahead.
Hey, TheGoyFather, I gotta first start off with much appreciation for you deep diving into breaking down the meme text and everything. And I did watch the video where Adam tried to and then when I was listening to you break it down line by line, you were absolutely right. I don't know as nearly as much as I'd like to about their representation and their manipulation on how the text is represented, but I really, really am grateful for the fact that you put that out there and then you countered their points in a well thought out, well proven aspects of all of the things that are actually existent in the Torah and the Talmud. So I want to thank you with that. I really love this space because this is a knowledgeable environment that we can all learn from. I love that you shut down that Jew slave lady earlier. But what I do want to ultimately come around to is that yes, I'm going to follow your Rumble. I'm going to go there and I'm going to continue following with all of this. Um, and I do run into Jews a lot of the time where they tend to manipulate and twist the words of, like, they always try to pretend, oh no, only the Torah exists, and I guess there's some sort of like exile or something that they can experience if you even mention the Talmud. And so I kind of want to put this in two ways. One way, I want to say I'm very grateful for you doing the deep diving, because you had mentioned prior that it will really damage the brain and damage the psyche in some type of way if you aren't prepared to handle the deep diving of the Talmud. And the very skimming that I have seen, and then this leads me to the question. um how are you so strong, man? I know I have Jesus Christ, I have the Lord and the Savior, but damn, I respect you, and how are you so strong?
Appreciate that, brother. All glory to God. Nothing is me, bro.
To the high heaven, man. I love you, GoyFather. And
Appreciate that,
Uncensored,
brother.
and Wolf, and Uncensored. All of you guys are amazing. Just putting it out there.
Listen, man, we gotta put on the armor of God, and we just gotta take down this
Yes, sir.
this
Yes, sir.
Jewish
I'm doing my
control.
best. I'm here, and I'm thankful. I'm grateful that this space exists through the glory of God, that we can all get together and learn and grow together. Like, I really appreciate it. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
100%.
Ultimately.
God bless, brother. All right, let's go to I think it was iComics and then C Dukes and then Open Vaults. Go ahead, iComics.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
I came in late to the space, but I do want to say I appreciate the absolute masterclass on destroying that Jews slave. Uh, but on going back, I came in at the part where you're talking about the avoiding taxes, and would it be fair to say that they believe that they're able to avoid these taxes because they use them? They put these things in place for the Gentile to exploit us through usury. And what do you use whenever someone says, well, this is the Torah Jews don't practice the Talmud, and the Talmud Jews don't practice the Torah, as if they're two different things, when ultimately all rabbis have to be fluent in the Talmud, if I'm correct?
Yeah, the idea of Torah Jews doesn't. Torah Jews aren't a thing. So the only people who can be considered a Torah Jew is like what is called a Karaite Jew or Ethiopian Jews or these very, very small sects. But even since Ethiopian Jews moved like to all the settler colonies in Palestine and whatnot, they've started picking up the Talmud, right? So even they've fallen to the Talmud. But Karaite Jews are like 40 to 50,000. They're like 0.03% of the Jewish population. So they're a minority of a minority. And even those people, they have their own halakha. So they don't have a Talmud, but they have their own Jewish law, like external book. Now, it's not necessarily, exactly like the Talmud. It's not nearly as bad, but they still extract some very evil ideas from it. I've spoke to a couple Karaite Jews, and one of them was like screaming at people, saying you're a Gentile bitch and all this other shit, just going crazy. So somehow they still get the Jewish spirit out of them. But yeah, the people you see call themselves Torah Jews are Talmudic Jews. The Satmar and Neturei Karta. Both of them follow the Talmud. I don't know why they keep doing this bullshit calling themselves Torah Jews. Well, I mean, I do know it's pure deception. It's a good marketing tactic. Guys, we're Torah Jews. We don't follow the Talmud. Everything they do is according to the Talmud. Everything. They're no different than like one of the rabbinic Jews in Israel. No different. Apart from they just believe they need to wait till the Messiah comes. That's it. The only difference between the two is that. And when they say Torah Jews, that Torah can be used to refer to everything within the rabbinic literature, right? So it can be used to refer to the Torah, first 5 books, the Tanakh, right? The books of the prophets, etc. It can also be used to refer to the Talmud in general. Then it can be extended to refer to the Zohar. Then it can be referred to as well the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishneh Torah, right? So the word Torah is a collective word, pretty much for all the Jewish literature. So when they say Torah Jew, yeah, Torah Jew, but to them the Torah is the Talmud, right? Because they say the Torah Shebektav, which is a written Torah, and the Torah Shebel Peh, which is the oral Torah, are one. So they claim Talmud and Torah are one, which means you can just call them Torah. So that's what it is with the thing. And when you said about the interest, I missed some of it, but pretty much Jews, according to the 198th mitzvah, are commanded by God to actually charge us interest at a rate where we can not survive, pretty much at a rate where we will fall into restlessness, into poverty, so on and so forth, right? So yeah, it definitely is related. And then it says if a Gentile comes to collect taxes off a Jew, they can deceive us to avoid paying the tax. So tax evasion, simple. So yeah, it is the case.
So basically, it's fair to say that using the term Torah is just a cop out to pick and choose which angle you want to take the Talmud, or whichever way you're being attacked. They're being attacked from.
Yep.
It's a way to simplify and pick and choose which one you want to use according to what argument they're in.
Yeah, so it's a cop out to try and say that oh, we're not like the other ones, guys. The other ones follow the Talmud, but look,
Yeah,
our name is
right.
Torah Jews. So that means we follow the Torah. And it happens a lot. If you look at the account Torah Judaism, right? The account on Twitter, which I'm pretty sure has me blocked, and the other one, Voice for Rabbis, both of them will use the term Torah Jews, right? They always use the term because it makes them seem like they're not the bad ones. And then you go to the comments and be like, you follow the Talmud. And then another Gentile will pop up and be like, no, look at them. Their name's Torah Jew. So the Gentiles fall for it all the time. We fall for it. It's fucking stupid. We need to understand
Yeah,
that Torah Jew isn't a thing.
That's where I have the biggest problem. I don't have as much of a problem with the Jews. They usually block me pretty quick. It's the Gentiles that come in. Oh, well, they're Torah Jews and they're simping for fucking Jews. I'm sorry, but that's what it is.
Yep, exactly. It's terrible.
All right. Anyway, thank you for your time.
All right, no problem. I don't know who was up first. I think Mike was up, and then C Dukes, and then Open Vaults last. Boomer, if you want to speak, put your hand up, please. Mike, go ahead. I'm gonna rotate some people as well. No hard feelings. All right, Mike. Hello. All right, Mike's not here. Let's go C Dukes. Go ahead.
Hey, what's good, the father? How you doing?
What's good, bro?
Brother, I mean, from what you actually have just, I think this stuff is epic, man. I mean, we're going through this as we speak, brother. I mean, based on what we actually have gone through here, and based on one of them, that it just stated that as a Jew may have sex with a child as long as the child is less than 9 years old. What about that Epstein's list, man? I mean, that pretty much self-explains it right there, man. I mean, how can we actually expose this to the? I mean, can we gotta share this with the world, bro. I mean, this is something that's needed, so therefore we can defeat this. Because, I mean, I think the female promiscuity is so high right now, so rampant, man. I mean, if these girls would actually understand that how these people think, it says a Gentile goy girls in a state of niddah, born from filth. From that point on, I mean, they probably would take this stuff seriously, right? I mean, as far as like getting a sense of understanding, like where that's coming from, where it's rooted from,
Yeah,
right?
you
As
would
a,
think
according
so,
to
but the Jews, they're very good with this propaganda piece that they do. They will, claim that, oh well, it doesn't matter because the Talmud's not a holy book, which isn't true. Every single Jew considered the Talmud a holy book before the 17 and 1800s. And even the ones past that, the people who created Reform Judaism, conservative and Reconstructionist, all consider the Talmud a holy book, right? So the followers are even going against their fathers of their, like, 20th century religion, etc. So most people, you'll show them it and go, oh, well, yeah, it does say that, but it doesn't matter because it's not a holy book. It's like, are you stupid? It's like, yes. Yes, it is. And then further past that, we can see how like good this propaganda's worked by. There was a study done in 1964. Over 50% of people in America believed that Jews had control over the media. Now it's like 22 or 27%, whatever it was. So these
that's
guys
crazy.
are good with this propaganda. The amount of Gentiles I speak to and I tell them and they're like, oh, well, it's not God's word. I'm like, it's a Talmud. I wouldn't expect you to think it's God's word, you retard. But to the Jews, it is God's word, right?
Right.
The Gentile
Right.
Christians who try to defend it. I even know Gentile Muslims who try to defend it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, especially it talks about like Jews may use lies to circumvent a goy, Gentile. I mean, this is crazy because I'm I used to be a firefighter, right? We lost a lot of guys on 9/11 too. You know what I mean? And all those lies have been purported through the media. It's just that I mean, America needs to wake up. I even like bring some of this stuff up, and I lost friends over this stuff, man. And it just that this stuff's got to be really leaked out, man, to the community, so we can get this out, man. I mean, it's wild, man. This is wild. And it talks about all non-Jewish are prostitutes. This is crazy, man. It's happening as we speak.
100%.
Oh my God. Hey, man. All right, Father, man. I really appreciate you, man, and have me on here to speak, man. Thank you.
No problem. God bless. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Mike, you back? See, Mike's here. All right, I'm gonna drop Mike.
You can take me off, sir. I appreciate
All right,
it, buddy.
no problem. All right. Let's go to open Vortex. Go ahead.
Open votes. Hey, Trevor here from Ontario, Canada. I was listening to you guys last night. It was fantastic. Got to hear the International Jew audiobook from Henry Ford, and that was really awesome. So I'm in my grocery store stacking milk today, and I'm like, what's this little MK with the circle around it? And I'm like, it better not be a kosher thing. And then I look it up, and sure enough, I put it in the comments there. They got like a dozen different signs for kosher. And then I'm like, why can't they just be honest? Like the halal, they put their little Islamic thing, and it's certified to be halal. And I was like, well, why don't they just put kosher and just write it in plain English, See, it seems like it's sneaky or subversive. And I'm like, that ain't right. But then I'm like, well, how many foods are all like kosher approved? And getting an argument with my wife a little bit, and she's like, no, it's just like, if the food's like good normal food, then they can put kosher on. I'm like, well, they're gonna alienate a whole bunch of infidels or goyim or people that are non-Jews. Like, now I don't want to buy any of the milk, and I'm like, well, which milk is? Now I gotta like look through and stuff. And I'm like, the whole grocery store is probably infested with sugar and with the stuff that's kosher, and like now the KFC in Canada here, they went all halal for their meat. And the Cavendish fries, the French fries, they're now halal. And I'm like, well, they're not off the menu now, damn it. But I was just like, why don't they just put it in plain English that, so people can make an informed choice?
I mean, I'm I'm not sure, but I mean, you could take a guess that it's because when they do kosher food, they sacrifice it to their demon god, and they want you to eat food sacrificed to their demon god, I guess. But apart from that, I don't know.
So would the kosher food be given a little bit of money, like even if it's just a nickel
I
for
mean,
every
yeah.
$6 or
So yeah,
$7 for a
Jews.
bag of milk?
There is something called a kosher tax, which is placed on a lot of foods. I don't know if it's on absolutely everything, but I know there is a kosher tax where like the Jews get like a percentage of every sale from an item of food that's kosher. If anyone knows like what the tax is and what it's on, put it in the purple pill. So that's probably why they don't mark it, because they'll mark it as normal food and then people will buy it, and then guess what? You just give the Jews money. So yeah, that's probably why.
Cool, thank you. I figured you guys would know more than me. I put a little symbol of like a dozen symbols they have, and I'm like, why don't they just use a standard single symbol? You know, why does it have to be the little U and the MK and all these other ones? So, yeah, it just seems sneaky. I don't like that. There's no honor in that. Even the Muslims are more honorable by putting halal. I don't want their shit either. But yeah, cool. Thank you.
All right, no problem. All right, Mike, you back up? Are you here now? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm back. I had to take a phone call real
Oh,
quick.
good.
But if anyone has a clip of you, Father, if you can clip it or someone else can do it, owning that Jew slave, that would be excellent, because my question is if you would agree on, personally, my favorite method of J-pilling people is I don't like to do the talking. I like to show the Jews clips, show friends clips of the Jews incriminating themselves. Like that one woman who was in here talking about how she could not give a definitive answer to if it is okay to have sex with a 3-year-old, which I think anyone would honestly agree that that's absolutely disturbing. So my question is, do you think that's a good tactic to J-pilling people who are fairly new to this, is just showing them clips of Jews making diabolical statements and self-incriminating? Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think it's also good if you can back it up with their beliefs, because a lot of people will just say, oh, well, that's just, anecdotal. That's just one Jew. Well, I know a Jew who was friendly to me. He said hello to me. So that means not all Jews are bad. But yeah, it's definitely a good idea to show people what the Jews believe. Like, she wasn't even a Jew. She was a Gentile, brainwashed and manipulated by the Jews to become a Noahide slave, right, who has to believe Jews are a superior race to her, and she couldn't even give the definitive answer of whether they were superior or not, right, which is insane, or whether their soul was superior or not. She kept running away from that question. And then when it came to the child marriage part, I started speaking on it, right, the 3-year-old girl thing, and right away she gave the programmed response to Ketubot 11b6, but she didn't realize I wasn't quoting Ketubot 11b6. So she gave a programmed response that she'd been taught by her rabbis. So then I took her to the other text, and then she goes, and then I asked her the question again, and she goes, no. What do you mean no? I just asked you if it's pedophilia to have sex with a 3-year-old, and you said no. And she goes, oh, well, back in them times, gone. You're gone. If you tell me having sex with a 3-year-old girl is not pedophilia, we're going to get you out of here. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's disgusting. And this is what's going to happen when these rabbis are on stage saying we're going to implement Noahide laws. Trump's bringing on rabbis saying we're going to bring upon the Noahide laws. He's also bringing upon like oneness Pentecostal heretics, right? Who say you need to pay them 13 grand to get into heaven. You know his faith advisor? That bitch? She said you need to pay her 13,000 to get into heaven. She also said we shouldn't be trying to convert the Jews. We should be learning from them. So he's hired a dirty heretic, right, to spew his bullshit. Then he gets a bunch of rabbis to say we're going to implement the Noahide laws. Well, guess what? That means all the Christians die. That means we're all executed. You can't be a Noahide and be Christian. It doesn't work. You literally just have to be a slave to the Jews. That's all a Noahide is. Alright. Let's go to... Boomer, are you here? Because you don't have your hand up, but you've been here for a while. Alright, never mind. Let's go Fung Machine. Go ahead.
G'day, GoyFather. Thanks for giving us your time. Greatly appreciate it, brother. Now, GoyFather, you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to. But I just want to know what inspired you to go down this route where you go into study of the Talmud in depth and the comparisons compared to the Torah and the New Testament, and making sure that you have unearthed everything to gain this knowledge. So what truly inspired you? Was there an event in your life or anything like that? So like I said, you don't have to share if you don't want to, but it's just a question I'm interested in.
No problem. I'll answer it. Great question. So yeah, I used to be like one of these nut jobs who was like, the Vatican's behind everything. You know, the Black Pope controls all the other popes. You know, all this bullshit, right? And then I started looking closer and I was like, well, there's a Jew. Well, there's a Jew. Oh, well, there's the infiltration of Jesuits. He's a Jew. There's Freemasonry in the church. He's a Jew, right? Jew. I was noticing Jews everywhere. And the thing with me is, I believe, right, that a lot of people say, oh, people do stuff because of money, right? I'm like, no. If you're a trillionaire, right, if you control $1 trillion of assets, or you are a multi-billionaire, money is not your main goal, right? Especially if you are the top echelon. You know what is your main goal? Power. Something greater than just money. I believe capitalism is the second block from the top on a pyramid. For me, the top is the people who create ideologies, right? And stuff that is going to be pushed to the world, right? So, what I tried to do is, all right, well, forget about these guys who want money, right? People like Shaquille O'Neal, people like Beyonce, like Jay-Z, right? They're not creating the ideologies. They're just like the forerunners of pushing the ideologies of degeneracy, of gangster music, and all this other shit that actually absolutely corrupts our youth. Now let me find out why they're doing this, right? Because surely people should be righteous. Why would they do this? So then you look, oh, well, who controls them? Oh, it's Jews. The music industry, Jewish, right? Porn industry, Jewish. All of it is Jewish. So now, instead of saying, oh, well, the Jews are doing it for money, I look into the Jews' religion to see the ideology behind why they do it. Because Jay-Z and Beyonce are these religious guys. Now, you can say the Freemasons, but I already knew the Freemasons were just a bunch of Jews, right? It's like Judaism for the Gentiles. It's another version of Noahidism, right? So, I look at the top of the pyramid, because that's the part you need to tip off. Listen, if you knock the top of a pyramid, no one gives a shit about the pyramid anymore, right? If you're not the tip off the pyramids of Giza, everyone's going to say, they don't even look that good, right? So it's a lot easier to break everything else down when you get rid of the people who are creating these bullshit ideologies that are ruining our culture and our society. So then, I started looking into it. I looked into the Talmud, looked into a little bit of the Kabbalah, looked into the Sabbateans first, and Frankists. That was really like my first introduction to looking at those guys, because to me that is truly the religion of Judaism that's followed today. The Reform Jews, Conservative Jews, Reconstructionist Jews, Chabad Lubavitchers, all of their teachers descend from people who studied alongside Sabbatai Zvi and Jacob Frank. So that's kind of how I got into looking into Judaism, because we need to know what these ideologies are, right? Because, yeah, you can study the past to understand the future, but if you know what a person's going to do, you can pretty much predict the future, right? Not on some, not blaspheming, right? This isn't some prophecy type stuff. But if you know that someone believes in a prophecy, and you already know they force prophecies, then if they say that there's going to be a war between Ishmael and Esau, guess what? I'm going to be ready for them to try and cause a war between the white man and the Arab, which we've already seen. So people just need to be aware of these ideologies. I mean, there was more stuff than that sent me into diving into the Talmud, like when I realized that the Jews literally killed my people, or created a war that killed my people. I mean, Europa Last Battle always wakes people up, right? Always does a good job. Stuff like that. But actually diving into the Talmud itself, you need to understand the ideology of people if you ever want to get anywhere. Instead of saying, oh, well, they do bad, so that means they are bad, right? It's like, well, why do they do bad? And what are they going to do next that's bad? And then we can be aware of it. That's how you truly master pattern recognition. Because you'll already know it's going to happen. But yeah. Hope that answers the question. All right. Let's go to.
Awesome, mate. Thank you very much for
No
that. I
problem,
really
brother.
appreciate it.
All right. Let's go to correspondent X. Go ahead.
Hey man, first of all, thank you for being really honest and dropping your balls on the table and saying that Freemasonry is Judaism for Gentiles, for the goys. I wholeheartedly appreciate that. You know what? Most people that they're just not willing to admit that. So thank you. And that must be a result of all of the research that you mentioned, like the Sabbateans and all of those things, right? Being able to say that.
Say that again. Can you say the last part again, sorry?
Oh yeah, I was just saying that being able to make that admission, right? That Freemasons, they it's Judaism for Gentiles. That has to do, like, most people don't know that they rarely do even people know that Freemasons exist, but like even more so, is it rare that people understand that Freemasonry is just Judaism for Gentiles. Am I correct to say that? That's kind of some occult knowledge there.
Yeah, so people don't have a clue because they think that, oh, well, guess what? Hey, you've got the Shriners, they're Muslim Freemasons, or you've got these guys, they're Christian Freemasons. That means you can be any religion. No. When you get to the top of Freemasonry, you literally worship what they call Jesus and Lucifer hand in hand, pretty much back to back, right? Which, if you look at a lot of the Kabbalah rabbis, right, they'll say that Jesus is Satan. They believe he's Satan and the backside of Lilith, right? And then Samael is like on the front side. So pretty much the Freemasons worship like a satanic figure. I can't remember what page of Morals and Dogma it is. I think it might be page 362, where it says they worship Lucifer, right? That is their god. They worship Lucifer and Jesus coinciding with each other. Now, it being Judaism, I mean, Jews have admitted themselves. Multiple Jews have admitted that, you know, Freemasonry is nothing without Judaism. It is literally Kabbalah. The idea of like the two pillars, Kabbalah. The idea of Jacob's ladder, Kabbalah. Everything to do with Freemasonry is basically Kabbalah. They just add in what they call Jesus. It's not Jesus, man. It's some fake demon. But they'll add in Jesus and they'll say, well, look, guys, here you go. We're Christian. Or look, guys, we're Muslim, etc. They're not. When you get to the high ranks of Freemasonry, it's fucked. Very, very fucked up ideology. You may as well... It's just delving into Kabbalistic Judaism at that point. And, like, Gnosticism. As well as Buddhism, etc. And then...
Yeah, no, hey, no, this is a master class. It really is. Like, I haven't been here this long. I can't. I've been here for like the last 5 or 7 minutes, and I just have one question on the way going out. But the amazing master class. So, if everything that you just mentioned and everything that you're talking about, so like, look, let's be frank here. Hitler, he he was a sodomite, and he was also in contact with demonic entities, which you would say is Judaic mysticism, because
Every bit of that's bullshit nonsense.
I
Space
just kicked
Cat
him.
bullied that yesterday.
Yeah, I just kicked him. I'm not listening to someone saying Hitler's a sodomite. You sound like a Jew. Oh, ridiculous. Alright. Let's go back to Foo. And then if anyone else has got questions, you can request.
Hey, thanks for bringing me back up again. And my question is about the Sabbath and the Havdalah candle, and running into individuals who talk about it, where they claim to be straight. You know, oh, I'm just a Jew. I'm just practicing Judaism or whatever. I'm not a Jew, so I don't really know. But then, why on in idolatry, I believe was what you were mentioning earlier, those who worship the stars. On in the Talmud, as I understand it to be, they have to go see at least 3 stars on a Saturday to practice the Sabbath, to do the Havdalah stuff. And so I want, what I would like is a little bit more clarity from you as to how you see it and how I should see it, because I don't get why they pretend to just say, "Oh, I only do the Torah." I've never seen like I took my time a little bit and I grazed through the Torah. I don't respect it. I love the Bible and I love Christ, but um why would they pretend and then also practice the Havdalah candle and then on top of it worship the three stars? And then to circle back with that interview with Adam, this whole, your whole show today, which was awesome. Um, them to be like, oh, we hate people that worship the stars, but yet in the very book, the Talmud, that they are is unacceptable to talk about with anyone outside of their realm or their religion. They still do these same practices to where they witness three stars on a Saturday to complete their Havdalah ceremony. It's so weird. So could you add a little bit of light and shed a little bit more knowledge on that for me, please?
All right, that's a very in-depth question. But yeah, so when it comes to the Jews who say, I mean, this is one of the main things I go to, by the way, when what is it? When a Gentile will say Jews don't follow this. I have a Jewish friend. He doesn't follow the Talmud. I tell him, ask your friend two questions. How does he know to follow the lineage through the mother? And how does he know to light candles on Shabbat? That's it. That's it. I asked them those two main questions to go through. And that there alone will prove that they do follow the Talmud. Because the answer will be, oh, well, it's in the Torah. You go, well, show me it in the Torah. They can't show you it in the Torah. Then they've got to run to the Talmud again. Right? So it's typical. And then when it comes to them talking, saying we worship stars, but they have to wait until until the three stars come up. So the three stars is like that's just how they say Shabbat started. Now, Shabbat itself, Jews actually liken, so pretty much Jews liken a month unto every planet, right? They liken a month unto every planet, and they liken, or a day unto every planet, sorry, right? And they liken Shabbat unto Saturn. And then they even liken Saturn unto Satan. So within this alone, they understand, right, that their holy day is what they consider Satan, right? The day of Satan. In their own Kabbalistic and Talmudic interpretation. Now, I don't necessarily believe they worship the stars. Now, you could say it's a ritual underneath the stars, which could somewhat infer worship, right? Or, to me, they're just glorifying it, right? It's not really like, oh, they're praying to the stars, they're worshipping it. But I'll need to look more into it. But yeah, I'm not sure if they pray to the stars. I'm not too sure. But I do know they have to wait until, I think it's 3 stars show, but it's got to be like a big star.
Yeah, they have to witness the three stars
Yeah.
before they can practice the blow out the Havdalah candle and all this.
Yep, that is true. All right. James or Funk, if you got any questions, if anyone else has got questions, feel free to request. And then, if not, let me get a what's it called though real quick. I'll get the Substack. Did I already post the Substack in the bottom? I'm not sure.
All I can say is I've been searching for the video he mentioned, and there's just so many of them that I'm just trying to find that thing so he could get a link back to it. But if you want to drop me out a speaker, you can go ahead and do that. Give it to someone else. But thanks for your work, GoyFather.
All right, no problem. God bless. All right. Fun quick question. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not much of a question. Just tell us who has been your favorite debate? Like, who has given you the most challenge, if any at all, that you can recall?
I'm on here. I mean, I've only really debated Anointed, Yehuda and his rabbi,
Just in general.
and then Mitch. But in general, I don't necessarily think I've had like a hard debate on the Talmud, because every Jew I go to, right, who is like a Jewish debater, should we call them, always rejects my request to add child marriage in the Talmud as a topic on the debate. They'll be like, nah, let's speak about Jesus being the Messiah in the Bible. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. We can do that. But let's also debate child marriage in the Talmud. And they run away every time. There's this little squeaky kid who's like he's like a Tovia Singer fanboy, right? You know, like call into different Christian lives like Sam Shamoon and stuff, and he'll try to debate them, and he'll get bullied around, but he's a very squeaky, annoying kid. I think I was in my DMs, right, calling me Amalek and saying, I'm the true Amalek, I'm gonna die, etc. All this other dumb shit. He was supposed to debate me, and then I told him, cool, after we hop off, follow me, DM me, we'll set up a time. The guy blocked me. Then there's another guy, some little kid called Yakov. He's not like the guy's like 20, but Jews for some reason they got a lot of estrogen, right? They just sound like girls. He was also supposed to debate me on child marriage in the Talmud, and then yet again didn't message me or didn't add me so we could set up a date. So I haven't really had like a serious or like a competition, not like a serious competition, sorry, between any Jew on the Talmud. They haven't really like known enough, right? Because they're not really memorizing like fucking children. They just know it's there. So I wouldn't really say I've had like someone who's been more of a challenge than anyone else. Hopefully though, one day someone can bring a challenge.
Yeah. Good on you, brother. I appreciate your work.
No problem. Appreciate it. God bless. Alright, 2 new people came up. We'll go to Corbito. Yeah, Corbito. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to say I appreciate everything you've been doing. I was pretty much on a surface level most of my life. I disliked them just for the simple fact of killing my Messiah. But coming more from you, Ian, and Wolf, I've had enough information to even wake up my own family, to the point where I got my boomer parents, who were the biggest breakthrough for me, to actually start researching and coming up with their own information and bringing it to me. Did you know this? Did you know this? And I'm like, well, yeah, I've heard about that. But so I just want to say thank you for all you do. And I guess just keep at it. We're all in this fight, and we're just trying our best. Thank you for having me up here.
100%, no problem. God bless. It's always good to hear people are working the families up. Alright. Open voice, go ahead.
In getting a copy of the audiobook, Henry Ford's International Jew. Are you guys able to post it in the comments there?
Uncensored? I think Uncensored might have it on his profile.
What's that?
Audiobook for Henry Ford?
Yes. If you go to my profile and search it, you'll find it.
Yeah, so if you go there, you'll be able to find it easily.
What do you think is a worse catastrophe there? Like the World Trade Centers being demoed, or the Epstein Island, or the Liberty boat being hit, or like World War II, where white against whites fighting each other and we don't know who our masters are? Like, what do you think's the worst atrocity that these guys are pulling
we'll get
off
to that
here?
in a second once we end Talmud talk, but I'd probably say Dresden's probably one of the worst. The slave is back, so I'll speak to the slave for 5 minutes and then well, I don't know where the slave's gone actually. I accepted the slave and the slave's not here.
I'm here, I think.
Oh yeah, there you go. How's it going?
Good, but at least you should try to not be so derogatory talking to
You're
another
a slave
human.
though. I mean, you see, this is the thing though, right? Your Talmud says I'm not a human, so why would I?
You are a human.
No, your Talmud says I'm not.
No, you're misunderstanding what he says.
No,
like
it says
you're...
only the Jews are called men, and it says I'm of the flesh of donkeys and the semen of horses. Can you tell me, are donkeys men?
Okay, depends on your action.
No,
If you
I
act like an
don't.
animal,
Stop it. No. It has nothing to do with actions, right? Nothing to do with it.
yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. It's
Yes,
only no, it doesn't. No, it
righteous.
doesn't. No, it doesn't. What is a righteous Gentile? What do they need to do? Go ahead.
Okay, well, if
Go
your
ahead. What does a
actions, like
righteous Gentile
righteous,
need to do? Answer the question.
keep the 7 laws, which are pretty simple.
So can I be a Christian and be a Noahide?
You could be a
No.
Unitarian.
So if I'm a Trinitarian, by the way, Unitarians aren't Christian, smart guy. So if I was a Trinitarian Christian, could I be a Noahide?
Depends on the world. You can go under the sheet hoof if you want.
Oh my days. Answer the question. Could I be a Christian? All right, a Christian and be a
There
Noahide.
are some who are. There are some who are. There is a rabbi who has a whole bunch of, I wouldn't say a ton of followers, but has a whole bunch of Christian followers, and he teaches them.
To be Noahides.
Shabbat.
Even though the laws and commandments were up until John.
I'm sorry?
Even though the laws and commandments were up until John. So they're a bunch of heretics. So they're not Christian. Are the Unitarians or Trinitarian?
The Unitarians, are they Trinitarian? They're not Trinitarian.
Oh, so answer the fucking question then. Can I be a Trinitarian Christian and be a Noahide? In your Noahide school.
I just told you.
In your Noahide school.
In my definition, that depends on which rabbi you follow.
Oh my days. Could I be a Trinitarian, someone who worships a triune God, and be a Noahide?
That is considered, there is an opinion of Shituf, right? And they
what's the consensus? What's the consensus of rabbis? It's idolatry, correct?
Shituf. There's
retard.
two
Stop just fucking saying Shituf. What's the consensus, you spastic? Tell me, what's the consensus?
There is no consensus. There are two.
Yes, there is.
Rulings. No, there isn't.
Yeah, two rulings. Obviously, you either are or you aren't. You either are idolater or you aren't. What does Maimonides say?
No. Rambam for him is idolatry.
So if I was a Christian,
Rashi,
if I was a Christian,
no, from Rashi,
if I was a Christian,
he's too different.
So Rashi's schizophrenic. Rashi's schizophrenic because he argues with himself.
He's
schizophrenic. He argues with himself.
There are two different judges.
Nanak, answer the question. In Judaism, in Judaism, I'm asking you a new one because you keep running away. You're acting like a Jew. Listen, in Judaism, right? You agree that bowing before anything is idolatry, correct?
For a Jew.
What?
Read Deuteronomy 4. For a Jew, yes. Not for a non-Jew, for a Jew.
So bowing before anything is idolatry in general. Now, in the Talmud, would worshipping Jesus Christ as God, the Holy Spirit as God, and the Father as God, would that be considered foreign worship? Is that worship foreign to the Israelites?
It's foreign to the Jew.
Foreign
not
to
the non-Jew.
No, because you don't understand the rulings of your own book, smart guy. The ruling is they are liable to receive a death penalty and be executed if it's considered foreign worship according to a Jew. So you've admitted it is idolatry according to a Jew. So I'm going to ask you the question. No. Yes, you did.
I'm sorry.
Now I'm going to ask you the question. I'm going to ask you the question. It's in Forbidden Worships and Customs, Chapter 2, Mishneh Torah. Now, I'm going to ask you the question again. Could I be a Trinitarian, all right, and be a Noahide?
According.
Long mute. Stop saying according to the Talmud. Could I be a Trinitarian? Could I perform the liturgy of the Orthodox Church or the Catholic Church?
Rulings of Rashi. I can only go by the rulings, right?
Yeah, the rulings of
the
rulings of
Maimonides.
I accidentally muted you. Try to request someone. Listen,
No, but they're different. Maimonides and Rashid,
You
they
agreed,
were
right?
not
I
around the
asked
same
you,
time.
Nanak. I asked you the question. You've already proven what you believe the ruling is. I asked you the question, and you said you could be a Unitarian. That means you don't believe a Trinitarian can be a Noahide. Smart guy.
It doesn't, what I believe doesn't matter actually. In Judaism, you don't go by what you
You
believe,
go
you
by
go
what
by
the
the
sages
decrees.
believe. You go by what the sages believe. Now the Talmud, Nanak, the
No, not
Talmud.
just the sages.
Yes, it is. It's what the
Actually,
sages
the
say.
ruling of the
It's what the sages
judges,
say.
Deuteronomy
It's what the
17.
sages say.
Deuteronomy
The
17.
70. There's not a Sanhedrin anymore. You can't apply to the 70. So Nanak,
No, to
Jesus
the
in the
judges.
Talmud is said to have disobeyed the words of the sages, and he is burning in hot excrement. If I'm a follower,
What does that have to do?
shut the fuck up, because I'm going to show you what it has to do. Because in Gittin 57a, it says his followers will be burning in hot semen. So, if I'm burning in hot semen, Nanak, how am I supposed to be a Noahide? If I'm following someone who disobeyed the words of the sages, and that's why he was killed, how are you going to tell me I can be a Noahide when your Talmud disagrees? Go ahead.
That's because it depends on your action. Just because you follow someone that the Talmud doesn't.
Get the fuck out of here. Because you're just a lying cunt. That's it. You're a lying cunt. You said, if you act like an animal, then you considered an animal. Well, what does it mean to not act like an animal? It means to follow the Noahide laws. So I asked her, can I be a Christian and follow the Noahide laws? She said, well, you can be a Unitarian. Well, guess what? I'm not a Unitarian. So according to her, I am an animal. And I am not a human. I am a beast. So how is that to do with actions? It's not. Right? At all. This is a problem with these slaves and this dirty slave religion. It's absolutely disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourself. You are not a Gentile no longer. Alright? You're a Jew. You're just a slave for the Jew. Alright, let's go to the last question. Justin John, go ahead. Justin Juma. Justus Juma, sorry. Hello? Are you panel riding?
Yeah, he's not answering.
Hello, Justus Juma?
Hello all, how are you?
How's it going? What's your question?
Well, I've just tuned in as following, and thank you for bringing me on top. I'm seeking to understand what the topic of the day is.
Listen, when it gets to open mic, you can come up and ask what the topic of the day is, but when a segment's going on and you've only just joined a space, you don't request and say, guys, what's the topic? Buddy, at least listen for 2 minutes and try grasp what the topic is. Not you join and press the request button. It's not how it works. It makes no sense whatsoever. Right? Ridiculous. Alright. Anyway, we're pretty much coming to an end. So, in the bubble, right, in the Jumbotron, there's the article to the Substack, guys. You can go and you can go see what I was reading from. And then from there, you can scroll through it and read it yourself. Or you can go to the Rumble and watch the Rumble video of me going through it, because you can also see it on there as well, right? So yeah. What's up next, Uncensored? What's the next segment?
Sam Sinclair.
All right, the brother Sam's on next. Listen, anyone who's on the Rumble, if you want to listen to Sinclair Speaks, listen. Everyone head on over to the Twitter space. But I'm about to end the Rumble. Then I believe Truth Teller and Ian have got their new topic up, right? Later on.
Perhaps there actually may be another space that they're gonna run. So
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see. Not sure about tonight.
All right. Well, anyway, I'm looking forward for that when it happens. All right, everyone. God bless. Oh wait, James, go ahead. Ask your last question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just thinking of a question to ask for the woman that whose head was on backwards, would she be willing to renounce or denounce Jesus to lose her head or keep it?
Oh, well,
Because
she's not
that's
a
part of the
Christian.
Noahide laws, right?
Yeah, it is. She's not a Christian. So she's
Well, that's what I meant.
yeah, she's
But,
walking
I mean,
around
eventually
saying,
it's going to come to her.
yeah, she's walking around saying, well, guess what? Rashi says there's two opinions. Cool, Rashi's schizophrenic. Rashi can't decide an
Point
opinion.
taken.
That's him. All right. Guess
Point
what?
taken. All right.
Maimonides.
Hey, thanks for your.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Maimonides
Thanks for
could
everything.
decide on an opinion, right? He told us what the opinion was. Christianity, according to him, is idolatry, right? So for you to say, oh, well, there's two opinions according to Shetov. Well, can I be a Trinitarian and be a Noahide? No. Well, that means I am an animal according to your standards, you slave. Now, don't ever call yourself a Gentile because you're not. You're a Noahide slave. That's all you will ever be. You will hold on to the tassels of the Jews. Alright? You will be one of their 2800. Alright, anyway. God bless everyone. Appreciate the time slot as usual. Catch me here next week. Alright? Catch me here next week.
Always.
Alright, no problem. God bless, guys.
Great show.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it. As usual. Alright. Anyone who is on the Rumble, we're going to end it in a second. Is there any way we can see your TikTok debates before you did before Twitter Fame? I don't see your account there. Just wondering if you kept a backup of any of the debates. There is 2 debates on my Rumble. The very first 2 videos, you can go down. There is 2 debates on here. Let me close that. Get rid of the Tad Havilah candles. And then swap it to that. Alright. Let me get to it actually. I'll show you what 2 videos is. Well, one of them's Twitter, only one of them's TikTok. I accidentally deleted like a lot of my other stuff. I might have some recordings saved that I can then upload. But for the most part, I get banned on TikTok and you can't save the recording after you get banned. So here we have this is against Yehuda and his rabbi. This is a TikTok one. Jew calls his rabbi mid-debate to try to defend child marriage in the Talmud. Actually, I need to make a thumbnail for this one. This one is me going up to a Messianic Jew to ask him if he thinks Jesus would allow child marriage. And he said yes. So therefore, he's not a Christian. Here's a space of me refuting Adam Green's idea of Jesus not existing. But he didn't want to show up to the live. First and second day reviews of Stu Peters' documentary. Talmud Talk 1, 2, Talmud Talk 3. Now, JQ Radio has some of the other Talmud Talks, guys. Oh, wait. They've got some of the other Talmud Talks. Alright, so, as you'll see, I mean, they even have this one, guys. So, we've got this one. They also have this one down here, which is number 4 or 5. They have this one, which is number 4. I couldn't record the last 2, so if you want these ones, they're here. I think X Potential also did one as well, guys. So, you can check them out. They're just general lives. But yeah. Alright. So will everyone say? Everyone like the live, guys. Before I end, like the live. Feel free to hit the subscribe if you want. Do more support if you want. Let me put I'll put the Substack in the comments real quick, so whoever wants it can get it. Alright, that's the Substack in the chat. It is pinned, so you can see that. You can go look what I was reading from today. If you want to have it for yourself, if you want it to use it for refutations, so on and so forth. Next one will be child marriage in the Talmud. and I did a poll on what my other next one should be, and they said, who is the Jewish God? So we'll go over who the Jewish God is, because it's a very, very interesting predicament we have. But anyway, appreciate everyone coming by. Make sure you follow the Rumble, subscribe if you want, like the live, and go subscribe to the Substack, guys, if you want to see more stuff. Alright, God bless. And anyone who's on YouTube as well, you can go over to the Rumble, go over to the Substack. Let me put in the YouTube real quick, actually. Let me put it into the YouTube real quick. I forget, I'm on 2 things. I need to use Restream next time. Alright. It is in the chat of the YouTube, and I'll put it in the description as well. I just got my account verified before I do that. Alright, anyway, God bless everyone. Goodbye.